Chapter 791. He could even clearly feel the man's toned muscles. Those handsome lines were strong and masculine. Yu Yu's hand movements suddenly slowed down. He suddenly remembered that in the past, when kindergarten classes were over, many of his classmates' fathers would wait outside the door early. He would always watch those children fly into their father's arms. He enviously fantasized that such strong chests should be a very warm world, right? Fatherly love was what he yearned for the most since he was young. He would always fantasize about how good it would be if he had a father. However, when a strange man really wanted to intrude into their home, he was extremely resistant and unwilling to accept it. Still, so what if he resisted? His mommy liked this man. During these few days of vacation, even though he repeatedly tried to obstruct her, he could tell that his mommy liked this man. She probably liked him a lot, right? He had never seen his mommy show such a shy and adorable expression in front of other men. Since this was the man his mommy liked, what reason did he have to reject him? He had previously told Xianxia that he would unconditionally approve of whatever she chose and approved of. Hence, he no longer resisted Wuxia like before. This man might really be the man who could accompany his mommy for the rest of her life. Since that was the case, accepting it calmly was the greatest respect he could give her. Even though his possessiveness was causing trouble, he still felt uneasy. He was worried that this father-son pair would invade his mommy's heart. He was no longer as important as he used to be. Yu Yu bit his lower lip. When he came back to his senses, he suddenly felt a hand touching his body. It touched his wrist and then his butt. Unable to tolerate it, he turned around and asked, "What are you doing?" Wuxia slapped his butt and muttered to himself, "Baby, why are you so skinny? You're even slimmer than Xianxia." Yu Yu said, "Can you not compare me to that inhuman?" Xianxia's physique was shockingly good. When Wuxia first threw him into the special forces, he thought that the little guy would come running back crying. However, less than a month later, the head of the special forces called and said that the young master had adapted well in the training camp. He was young, but his physique was very strong. On the other hand, Yu Yu's physique was very weak. He had touched the boy's frame earlier. The boy's frame was slim and slender, just like a pretty boy's. His arms, especially, were more than enough for him to wrap around the boy's arms with 2 fingers and still have room to spare. Yu Yu took a rag and slowly wiped the kitchen knife. She said indifferently, "I accepted you, but it doesn't mean that I like you. I accepted you because I will accept any man that mommy recognizes unconditionally." Wuxia was startled. His gaze fell on the side of his beautiful and exquisite face, only to see his drooping eyelashes, which were like the feathers of a black phoenix, fluttering like the wings of a butterfly. "Don't you like me?" Wuxia could not help pinching his tender cheeks. "Is the answer important whether I like you or not?" Yu Yu raised a brow and retorted, "How is it not important? Of course, it was important. He was his son. Of course, he cared about his feelings." Chapter 792. I'm just a passerby in your lives. Most of the time, the warmth that mommy needs is not something that I can give her. Only you can give it to her. Mommy likes you, so I accept you. But that doesn't mean that I approve of you. Wuxia was stunned. Yu Yu continued, "I've always doted on mommy. I can't bear to make her sad. So, you're not allowed to bully her. Even if you make her feel wronged, don't let me know. Because even if mommy forgives you, I won't." Wuxia could not help but feel that this son of his was really interesting and adorable to say such things. "You're not allowed to let my mommy down." A pair of beautiful eyes filled with menace. To be honest, it was not appropriate to describe him as a mother-protective demon. His son was a true mother-protective demon. Yu Yu continued, "Since you've provoked my mommy, you'll have to provoke her forever. Don't make mommy sad. She's actually not as stubborn as she looks. She has a fragile heart that will break at the slightest touch. If you dare to make her sad, don't blame me for being ruthless." There was no doubt about it. If he dared to make his mommy sad, he would blow up the headquarters of Disheng Financial Group in the next second. This son of his was only gentle in front of his mommy, but he was really cold and rough to others. Wuxia suddenly caressed Yu Yu's cheek. He lowered his head and planted a loving kiss between his brows. Yu Yu was stunned. His eyes widened as he stared at him in disbelief. The next second, his tender cheeks flushed with shyness. Yu Yu curled his lips, but the next moment his face fell. He awkwardly reached out his hand and rubbed the spot where Wuxia had kissed with disdain. Although his face was full of disdain, his heart was beating wildly. He was nervous and shy. Yu Yu looked up and glared at him shyly. His pink lips were tightly pursed, but his eyes could not hide his yearning for intimacy with him. What a proud boy! How could his darling's personality be so awkward? Sometimes she was quite cute. He reached out and ruffled Yu Yu's hair as he said, "Thank you. Thank you for having such a well-behaved son who had protected her from the beginning to the end for 7 years. For what? Thank you for always protecting mommy. This is what I should do. There's no need to thank me." Yu scoffed. "Oh yeah, what do you like to eat? I'll cook it for you. You're willing to cook for me?" Yu Yu blushed and said coldly, "Why? Can't I?" "I like everything you cook," Wuxia said honestly. In fact, he was extremely picky. However, as long as it was something his son made for him, he would like it. Yu Yu pursed her lips and pondered for a moment. "All right, I'll make sweet and sour pork for you." But Wuxia turned around and bumped into Xianxia and Xianxia, who were eavesdropping on their conversation at the door. The father and son's lips twitched. Xianxia said coquettishly, "Yu Yu, how dare you give your daddy special treatment behind my and Xianxia's back?" Yu Yu immediately felt wronged. "Mommy, no, I didn't give him." "That's great. Daddy can give us special treatment. We all have special treatment," Xianxia said enviously. Chapter 793. Yu Yu made sweet and sour pork for Daddy, but what did he make for Mommy? Xianxia teased him. Yu Yu replied cutely, "Yu Yu made Mommy's favorite food. Sweet and sour pork is also Mommy's favorite. Yu Yu only has Mommy in his heart." "All right. I won't tease you anymore." Xianxia did not know whether to laugh or cry. Her precious son was so adorable. Looking at Xianxia's charming smile, Yun Tianyo's heart was filled with contentment. He knew clearly that his mommy was teasing him on purpose. That was because his mommy loved his innocence the most. He unreservedly displayed the side of him that his mommy loved the most. Even if he did not hesitate to act cute. The dim lights on the quiet street made it seem even more deserted. The night gradually turned chilly, and the evening wind blew a chill. Yan Bingqing could not help shrinking her body and quickening her pace. Returning home late from the studio, Yan Bingqing looked dejected as she paced back and forth on the street corner. In the past, when she was alone on the streets, she wished she could be fully armed, wearing sunglasses and a hat, for fear that the paparazzi would tail her and take photos. Now, however, no matter how gorgeously dressed she was, the paparazzi would no longer tail her. Huan Yu's ban was thorough. In the first few days, her scandals were all over the internet. Her unbearable past was exposed to the public. Adultery, abortion, drug addiction, corrupt private life, and being a kept woman, these unsightly scandals were displayed one by one in front of everyone. Her reputation took a nosedive. This was the entertainment industry. When you were promoted, you were a high and mighty queen with limitless glory. When you were stepped on, you became a drowning dog that everyone despised. Everyone stepped on you, and each step was more heartless than the last. In the past, when she appeared in the headlines, her makeup was exquisite and her beauty was stunning. Now, however, when the media published her photos, she was haggard, disheveled, and down and out. Following that, Huan Yu issued an order to prohibit any media from reporting anything related to her. As long as there were rumors about her on the internet, they would be quickly deleted. News about her vanished without a trace on the vast internet, and there was no longer any exposure for her. This was Huan Yu's method, ruthless and thorough. She had thoroughly experienced Wuxia's ruthlessness. Yan Bingqing laughed mockingly. She suddenly felt that she was so pitiful. She had offended Wuxia, but she didn't even have a chance to struggle. But that wasn't the most terrifying part. What was even more frightening was that, in addition to the mainland, Hong Kong, and overseas, all the advertising endorsements, movie contracts, and resources that she had racked her brains to obtain, those originally loyal fans, had all left her. Regarding her, there was only a sea of criticism on the internet. It wasn't as if she hadn't experienced a low point since her debut. But for so many years, she had exhausted all means to achieve fame and fortune. She was almost unscrupulous. It wasn't easy for her to be crowned as Huan Yu's big sister. Flowers, applause, fame, money, everything she had was now gone. What she faced was only indifference, suspicion, and slander. Behind her back, there were so many people who were pointing fingers and pointing fingers. The most frightening thing was that it was impossible for her to even find a normal job. Even all her assets in the bank were frozen. Overnight, her hundreds of millions of assets evaporated, leaving her with nothing. Chapter 794. Suddenly, she heard the sound of a car's horn behind her. She turned around and saw a black car following closely behind her. She suddenly had an ominous premonition and quickened her pace. The headlights suddenly turned on, illuminating the road in front of her. Yan Bingqing was stunned, and the shadow under her feet elongated. She turned around in a panic, but because the lights were too bright, she couldn't see who it was. The car slowly approached her. Yan Bingqing was so nervous that she sucked in a breath of cold air, turned around, and ran forward quickly. The car suddenly sped up, and with the sound of the engine, it brushed past her. Yan Bingqing's waist was suddenly hit, and she felt a piercing pain. She was caught off guard and fell to the ground, a layer of skin scraped off her wrist. With a screeching sound of brakes, the car made a sharp U-turn. Yan Bingqing bent her body in a sorry state. Panting heavily, she turned around and saw the car stop by the roadside. Two men in black got out of the car, and with a murderous aura, they approached her dangerously. You guys, who are you? Yan Bingqing looked at them warily. A strange, heart-wrenching pain came from her lower abdomen, and fine beads of cold sweat appeared on her forehead. She endured the pain in her lower abdomen and struggled to get up. Stumbling forward, she took out her phone and dialed Mo Yan's number with trembling hands. However, before the call was connected, a cold wind came from behind. Yan Bingqing's hair was suddenly grabbed, and the phone in her hand was snatched away. It fell to the ground and shattered into pieces. One of the men pushed her to the ground and sat on top of her. He waved his hand and slapped her hard on the cheek. The other man heartlessly dislocated the joints in her arm. Yan Bingqing groaned. She felt her head buzzing and her vision turning white. No. What do you want? Yan Bingqing struggled to kick her legs. The men bent their knees and kicked her body. Their hands gripped her throat tightly, and their knuckles tightened. Yan Bingqing's face was flushed red. She frowned and coughed nonstop. Gradually, she felt a buzzing sound in her ears and her mind went blank. Just as she was about to suffocate, a cold voice sounded, "Let her go." The two men immediately let her go. Yan Bingqing raised her head in a panic and saw a thin little boy standing not far away. In the dazzling headlights, Yan Bingqing couldn't see the little boy's face clearly for a moment, but she could vaguely see his delicate outline. His eyes emitted a cold light. "Your name is Yan Bingqing?" Yun Dunyu slowly narrowed his eyes and walked toward her gracefully. His steps were extremely graceful, as if he was taking a leisurely stroll. When he reached her side, she was finally able to clearly see his handsome and delicate features. Yu lowered his head. His cold gaze fell on Yan Bingqing's flustered and helpless face. His eyes were filled with contempt and disdain. "Who are you?" Yan Bingqing's pale lips trembled helplessly. Even though the person standing in front of her at this moment was just a child who seemed to have no strength to truss a chicken, when she met his pair of cold and dark eyes, her heart couldn't help but tremble from fear. This boy had a mature aura that did not match his age, and a cold aura was constantly emitting from his body. Chapter 795. Yan Bingqing frantically tried to get up from the ground, but Yu lifted his leg slightly and expressionlessly stepped on her dislocated wrist. "Ah!" Yan Bingqing shrieked. The excruciating pain from her wrist made her break out in cold sweat. "You're Yan Bingqing." Yu opened his mouth. His voice was clearly still childish, but his tone was bone-chilling, making one's hair stand on end. Yan Bingqing shuddered. "You? Who exactly are you?" You don't have to know who I am. Yun Tianyu slowly said, I'm only here to take back some things for my mommy. What do you mean? Yan Bingqing was stunned. The child suddenly raised his voice and said, help her up. Two men in suits immediately went forward and helped her up. Yan Bingqing felt her legs go weak. The scene in front of her was too strange. A group of tall men in suits, who looked well-trained, were actually waiting for orders from such a young child. If she did not see it with her own eyes, she would not believe that a child's words could be so inviolable. Hit her. Yun Tianyu casually ordered. A man in a suit walked up to her and, without a word, gave her a tight slap. Yan Bingqing's face was abruptly slapped to one side. Caught off guard, her lips and teeth collided violently. She felt a sharp pain on her lips, and she immediately tasted a sweet, fishy taste. Her ears buzzed. The strength of a man's hand was no match for that of a woman's. This was especially so for a well-trained bodyguard with a military background. His slap was 5 times that of Yan Bingqing's. Yan Bingqing was a little dazed by this slap. She groaned in pain but could not even make a sound. Her throat seemed to be blocked. She could not even make a sound due to the immense fear. Does it hurt? Yun Tianyu raised his arrogant chin slightly. His eyes were calm and his voice was gentle, yet it made one shudder. Yan Bingqing's lips trembled uncontrollably as tears welled up in her eyes. Continue. Yun Tianyu ordered. The man gave her another slap. Yan Bingqing's hands were tied up. She didn't even have the chance to struggle. After 2 slaps, half of her face instantly went numb and lost all feeling. Tears overflowed from her eyes and trickled down. Woo-woo-woo. She let out a soft sob. All the grievances she had suffered these past few days turned into tears, wetting her face. Continue. The slap's soul-trembling force. Yan Bingqing cried, Why are you doing this to me? I know I'm wrong, but isn't that enough? Is this not enough? She was already in a desperate situation and had nothing left. Was this punishment enough? Yun Tianyu's eyes were cold as he nonchalantly asked, Do you think it's enough? I think it's enough. It's enough. I'm already living a life worse than death. Sob, 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 sob. Yan Bingqing let out a hysterical roar, releasing all the haze in her heart. Yun Tianyu slowly walked to her and sized her up with a cold gaze. I'm not the one who banned you. I'm only here to take back what you owe my mommy. Yan Bingqing was stunned. A total of 16 slaps. Not one less. Your mommy? Yan Bingqing pondered for a moment. Her eyes widened in shock. Chapter 796. In the middle of the night, Mo Yen suddenly received a call from Yan Bingqing. When he saw the caller ID on the screen, he felt inexplicably irritated. He did not know what she was up to this time. Recently, because of Yan Bingqing, half of his hair had turned white. Now that Yan Bingqing was ruined, his career was also ruined. His interests were tied to Yan Bingqing's. They were bound together for good or ill. Now that Yan Bingqing had fallen, he was also banned by Huanyu. It was completely over. It was when he had a splitting headache. Just as he was about to sleep, he was woken up by her call. Full of anger, he picked up the call. Just as he was about to flare up, he heard Yan Bingqing's painful voice from the other end. Yen, save me. Mo Yen sat up in bed in shock. What's wrong? Yen, I think I have a miscarriage. He was so shocked that he was suffocating. He hurriedly hailed a taxi. When he arrived, he saw Yan Bingqing lying weakly in the flower bed. Her lower body was stained with blood, and her blood-stained hand was holding her phone tightly. Her face was lifeless, like a withered flower. Mo Yen walked to her side and looked at her blood-stained skirt in shock. His eyes were full of shock and helplessness. Bingqing, what's wrong? When Mo Yan's gaze landed on her face, he was shocked again. Yan Bingqing's face was swollen from the slap. There was a bloody cut at the corner of her lips, and blood kept oozing out. It was extremely horrifying. He had never seen Yan Bingqing in such a sorry state. Her originally stunning face was no longer lively, and she looked sickly and pale. Your face was hit by someone? It hurts, my stomach hurts. Yan Bingqing held her stomach and said in a broken voice, "Send me to the hospital. And I think I have a miscarriage." Miscarriage? You're pregnant. Mo Yan's eyes widened in shock, but he did not have time to care so much. He picked her up horizontally and ran to the side of the road. Yan Bingqing said with a pale face, "I don't know. I'm pregnant, but I haven't come for 3 months. I might be pregnant." Pregnant? Yan Bingqing, you're really? Mo Yan was so angry that he was speechless. Didn't he tell her to take precautions? Why was she pregnant at such a critical moment? The problem was she had so many men, and she had to deal with 3 of them. Did she know who the father of this child was? Mo, what should I do? Now that I'm like this, I might as well just die. Yan Bingqing was completely disheartened. Her current appearance made her wish she was dead. Her hatred for Xianxia had seeped deep into her bones. If she could, she wanted to perish together with her. Mo Yan, what should I do? What should I do? Shut up. Mo Yan said irritably, "It's fine if you humiliate yourself, but you even implicated me." Yan Bingqing, who can you blame for being in this state? Didn't I warn you not to be too ostentatious in the entertainment industry and to be careful with your words and actions? But you offended people everywhere, and you even offended Wuxia. What do you want me to do? Yan Bingqing sobbed, breaking down and crying. She was in a sorry state. Mo Yan hailed a taxi and hurriedly carried her into it. Chapter 797. Why is it covered in blood? Let's get this straight. If you dirty the back seat, you'll have to pay for the car wash. Mo Yan said angrily, "You'll get what you deserve. Go to the hospital first. Your life is more important." It's the middle of the night. How unlucky to have picked you 2 up. The driver muttered unhappily. If not for the fact that he would be reported for refusing to pick them up, he would have chased them out of the car. He was unlucky. Mo Yan was so angry that his face turned green. Now that they were in dire straits, even a lowly driver dared to look down on them. The taxi dropped them off at the hospital. Mo Yan threw a 100 yuan note and hurriedly carried Yan Bingqing to the emergency room. Yan Bingqing had already fainted. The doctor also recognized Yan Bingqing and did a simple checkup for her. With a cold face, he said, "The patient has miscarried and the child can't be saved. She needs a curettage operation. Are you her family member?" The operation needs a family member's signature. Her family members are not in the capital. How can they sign it? Let me do it. Mo Yan signed. Before entering the emergency room, Yan Bingqing suddenly woke up. She found out from Mo Yan that she was indeed pregnant, but the child could not be kept and needed a curettage operation. She immediately grabbed his clothes tightly. Mo Yan was stunned and asked unhappily, "What's wrong now, my dear lady?" "Call Yang Shouqing and tell him that I'm pregnant with his child." Yan Bingqing said word by word. Mo Yan was shocked. His mind turned 1,000 times, but he quickly understood the meaning of her words and immediately called Yang Shouqing. Yang Shouqing was negotiating a business deal at a private club when he received Mo Yan's call. He was shocked to learn that Yan Bingqing was pregnant and had an accidental miscarriage. When he learned that Yan Bingqing was pregnant with his child, Old Master Yang was even more shocked and immediately rushed to the hospital. When Yang Shouqing was young, he was also a playboy who played with many female stars. Yan Bingqing was just one of the many mistresses he kept. However, Yang Shouqing was deeply attached to Yan Bingqing. He doted on her and used all the resources he had on her. The reason why Yan Bingqing was able to become Huanyu's #1 sister was all because of him. Without Yang Shouqing, Yan Bingqing was nothing. The reason why Yang Shouqing liked Yan Bingqing so much was because of her beauty, which completely catered to his taste. Looking at the entertainment industry, there were very few who could compete with Yan Bingqing in terms of beauty. Not long after Yan Bingqing debuted, he had been her sugar daddy. In the end, he actually developed feelings for Yan Bingqing. Hence, Yang Shouqing did not hesitate to throw a lot of resources on her to make her famous. Now, when he learned that Yan Bingqing was pregnant with his child, Yang Shouqing was happy. He had no children in his life, only 2 daughters. After his first wife passed away, he did not remarry. When he learned that Yan Bingqing was pregnant with his child and had an accidental miscarriage, he lost his mind and rushed to the hospital immediately. Yan Bingqing had just finished a curettage operation and was pushed into the ward when Yang Shouqing rushed over. He learned from the doctor that Yan Bingqing was pregnant with a boy. Unfortunately, she could not save the child and had a miscarriage. Yang Shouqing was even more devastated. When Yan Bingqing woke up, she saw Yang Shouqing guarding her bed. Seeing that she was awake, he looked anxious. Bingqing, are you feeling better? Brother, I'm sorry. I couldn't save your child. Yan Bingqing burst into tears. Chapter 798. Yang Shouqing felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. You just had an operation. Don't be so agitated. Don't cry. Seeing the pain and helplessness on his face, Yan Bingqing was even more certain that Yang Shouqing was the only person she could cling on to at this moment. Therefore, she immediately put on a pained expression and cried, Brother Qing, I didn't know I was pregnant. If I knew I was pregnant with your child, I would have been very, very careful. But what should I do? The baby has been miscarried. Brother Qing, our child is gone. Sob, sob, sob. If it hadn't been miscarried, I would have thought of quitting the entertainment industry, giving birth to the child, and raising it well. I heard from the doctor that the child has already taken shape. It's a boy. Yan Bingqing was weeping so hard that her beautiful and haggard face was extremely pale. However, what she said tugged at his heartstrings. How could Yang Shouqing bear to see her in such a miserable state? He couldn't help but hug her and hold her in his arms. His rough hands kept stroking her back gently. When he heard that she was willing to give birth to the child, raise it, and even quit the entertainment industry for his sake, Yang Shouqing's heart was even more touched. He felt even more heartache for her. Mo Yen, who was standing by the side, was expressionless. However, he snorted in his heart. Sometimes, people were really strange things. Especially this Yan Bingqing. When she was filming, she was expressionless and had no acting skills to speak of. However, at this moment, she was acting quite well. She even said that she would quit the entertainment industry for the sake of giving birth to her child with Yang Shouqing. Was that possible? Yan Bingqing valued fame and fortune so much. If not for the fact that she was in dire straits now, she might have secretly aborted the child. Moreover, if she said that the child was Yang Shouqing's, was it really Yang Shouqing's? Only Yang Shouqing, who doted on and trusted Yan Bingqing unconditionally, would believe her. The reason why Yan Bingqing said these words now was nothing more than to cater to Yang Shouqing's fancy and place all her last hopes on him. However, only Yan Bingqing could do such a thing and play such a trick. Yang Shouqing really fell for it. He asked with concern, I've been in Hong Kong for the past few days and only returned to the mainland a few days ago. I heard that you offended the higher-ups of Huanyu and were banned. I couldn't find you. What happened? Brother Qing, I feel so bitter in my heart. Yan Bingqing broke down and cried. When Yang Shouqing saw her crying miserably, he hurriedly asked a few questions. Only then did Yan Bingqing tell him the truth. She told him the whole story from beginning to end. It was said that when she was filming, there was a scene where she wasn't in the right state of mind and couldn't get into character. That scene was red-hot a few times and she slapped a newbie actor more than 10 times. There were a few times when she didn't control her strength and slapped too hard. In the end, she did not expect that the newbie was backed by the crown prince of Dishing, Muyazha. After offending Muyazha, he was blacklisted. But it's fine if he blacklisted me. I'm already so down and out, but this Yun Shirshir won't let me off at all. She actually asked someone to come to my door and slap me back 16 times. Chapter 799. When Yang Shouqing heard this, he felt as if a knife had been twisted in his heart. His hands trembled as he pulled her into his embrace. Bingqing, it's been hard on you. Mo Yen glanced at her expressionlessly from the corner of his eyes. Her acting skills were top-notch. In fact, Yu was very clear about her debts of gratitude and grudges in this matter. She left after giving 16 slaps, not one more, not one less. At that time, Yan Bingqing did not even know that she was pregnant, so there was no such thing as punching and kicking. Yan Bingqing had always been good at stirring up trouble. On this point, Mo Yen was very impressed. Brother Cheng, what should I do? Now that I'm in this state because of that woman, is my life completely ruined? Yen Bingqing cried as she said, that woman is really ruthless. Even if I've done something wrong, she doesn't have to be so ruthless, right? To ban me to this state, what kind of mistake have I made? I've already sincerely apologized, but she forced me to this point. Not to mention the entertainment industry, I can't even survive in the mainland. My life is over, it's over. This Muyaja is too ruthless. Yang Shouqing nodded, his face sullen. However, this was the tricky part. In the huge capital, Yang Shouqing was not afraid of anything, but he did not dare to offend the Mu and Gu families. One was Mu Yaja, and the other was Gu Jinglin. Both of them were ruthless characters. They were young but frivolous, young but ruthless. Each of them was more ruthless than the other. Especially Mu Yaja, who was even more ruthless than Gu Jinglin. At least in the mainland market, Yang Shouqing had no right to speak in front of Mu Yaja. If not for Mu Yaja, this matter would have been easily settled if he had stepped in. In the capital, especially in the entertainment industry, Mu Yaja had the final say in everything. Yen Bingqing offended him and was undoubtedly seeking his own death. Seeing the complicated expression on Yang Shouqing's face, Yen Bingqing felt even more uneasy. She probed, Big Brother Cheng, what should I do? In my current state, no one is willing to offend Mu Yaja for me. What kind of character was he? I used to think that he was a powerful figure, but I never thought that he could manipulate the entertainment industry with just a few words. Who exactly is he? Yen Bingqing had rarely heard about Mu Yaja in the industry. She only knew that he was the most important person in Disheng Financial Group. Therefore, as the controlling shareholder of Huanyu Entertainment, one word from him could turn the entertainment industry upside down. Yang Shouqing looked a little troubled. Bingqing, it's not that I don't want to stand up for you. It's just as you said, this Mu Yaja is a powerful figure. I don't dare to offend him. Hearing what he said, Yen Bingqing's heart thumped. Then her face turned ashen and she fell into endless despair. If even Yang Shouqing did not dare to offend him, he must be really powerful. Big Brother Cheng, if even you say that, I'm really done for. Chapter 800. Brother Yang, all my overseas movie contracts have been cancelled, Yen Bingqing said sadly. Yang Shouqing was slightly surprised. What happened? This matter has spread overseas. I heard that several international brands have good relations with Huanyu. The few movies that I signed contracts with before were all resources that Huanyu had fought for. Although they were only supporting roles, they could be plated with a layer of gold in Hollywood and solidify my position. But after this incident, those movie contracts have been cancelled. Is that so? Yang Shouqing muttered to himself for a while and said slowly, those are Huanyu's resources. You've offended Huanyu, so those movies are cancelled. I still have some resources that I can fight for you. There's a movie that's going to start shooting in Hollywood next year. I'll help you contact people and arrange for it. Really? Yen Bingqing was wild with joy as if she had seen a ray of hope in a hopeless situation. When have I ever lied to you? Yang Shouqing comforted her and patted the back of her hand. Now that things have come to this, whether you want to film or not is another matter. Right now, the most important thing is to recover your body. Yen Bingqing nodded heavily. Yang Shouqing thought for a moment and said, how about this? I'll arrange for you to go to Hong Kong to lie low for a while and recover your body first. If there's anything else, wait until you're better. Hey, Brother Yang, I'll listen to you. Yen Bingqing looked wronged as she nestled in his arms like a little bird. Yang Shouqing patted her back that was trembling because of her sobbing and suddenly asked curiously, so, this matter is all because of that newcomer? Yeah. Who's that newcomer? She's quite famous. Yang Shouqing asked. Yen Bingqing's face immediately raised with a sinister expression. She gritted her teeth and said, that woman's name is Yun Shirshir. I feel like she has quite a background. Yun Shirshir? Yang Shouqing came to a sudden realization. Who exactly was this woman? His old face suddenly twitched. He looked down at his 3 severed fingers and recalled Gu Xing's cold words. I'm warning you, Don't even think about touching Xianxia. Xianxia, that woman? The woman who caused him to lose 3 of his fingers. This Xianxia had quite the background. However, women in the entertainment industry would only gain power for a short while. Wait until she falls, see how he's going to kill her. Yang Shouqing thought angrily and said to Yan Bingqing, "Enough. I know. Don't worry. I won't let this woman off so easily. I'll definitely get justice for you." When Yan Bingqing heard this, she was overjoyed and cried out in surprise. "Brother Qing, you really love me. I love you." Yan Bingqing kissed his lips. Yang Shouqing hugged the back of her neck tightly and deepened the kiss. Mo Yen sensibly retreated and shook his head at the same time. When Xianxia returned to the set, she found that Yan Bingqing was missing. She was confused and really thought that Mu Yaja had kicked Yan Bingqing out of the production team. Mu Shi also rushed to the set. When she saw her, she immediately leaned in front of her and scrutinized her face with her bright eyes. Xianxia was baffled by her actions and asked, "Why do you keep staring at me?" It's fine. The wound on your face has healed." Chapter 801. Xianxia was perplexed. "What did Qinzhou scold you about?" "It's my fault for not taking good care of you and letting you suffer in the production team." She blamed herself. "It's all in the past. Besides, why should I blame you? This matter has nothing to do with you." She was moved to tears. "Xia, you're so nice. You're always so considerate of me." Xianxia patted her head. "All right. Aren't I all better now?" Yes. She quickly nodded and wiped away her tears. "That Yan Bingqing deserves to be blacklisted. She bullied you. She got what she deserved." "Blacklisted?" Xianxia was stunned. "Yan Bingqing has been blacklisted. The production team has removed her name from the cast." Her assistant looked at her strangely. "You don't know about this?" Xianxia shook her head blankly. "I don't know. She's been blacklisted?" "Yes." Huan Yu's higher-ups gave the order and created a lot of articles to slander her online. Not only did the production team kick her out, but they also terminated all her endorsements and movie contracts. Her reputation is so bad that it's even overseas. Anyway, she has no chance to make a comeback. Sure, isn't this considered as a blessing in disguise? After she was removed from the production team, the director was so happy that he didn't give her any attitude these past few days. Xianxia frowned slightly. "I'm not in the country these past few days, so I don't know about this." Her assistant asked, "That's right. Where have you been these past few days?" "We lost contact for a few days, and Mr. Qinzhou kept talking about you." "Oh, I went on vacation to recuperate." Sigh. "What a pity. You missed the biggest show of the year. You didn't see how Yan Bingqing was torn apart those few nights. She's so pitiful. Even I pity her. Still, a pitiful person must have something hateful about her. She deserves it." Her assistant said indignantly. "I still think that it's not thorough enough. You should let her apologize to you in public. Only then can you vent your anger." Hearing what she said, Xianxia suddenly realized that she seemed to have been tricked by Mu Yaja. Banning Yan Bingqing? Needless to say, this was definitely Mu Yaja's doing. He was the only one who could turn the entertainment industry upside down. Did he ban Yan Bingqing a long time ago? That day, she had been kept in the dark from the beginning to the end. She had even begged him to remove Yan Bingqing from the list. He even shamelessly offered such a condition. She actually fell for it. Damn it, how could this Mu Yaja be so black-bellied? Xianxia blushed. Then, Yan Bingqing has been removed from the cast. Who will play her role? Mu Shi opened her mouth and was about to answer when a voice sounded behind her. Xianxia. She turned around and saw a beautifully dressed woman with exquisite makeup slowly walking toward her. She was a little surprised. While she was in a daze, the woman was already in front of her. With a smile, she extended her hand to her. "Hello, I'm Lu Jingtian. You can call me Jingtian." Lu Jingtian? This face seems a little familiar. However, she really could not remember where she had seen it before. Xianxia shook her outstretched hand. "Hello, I'm Jingtian. I've just joined the cast to play Lin Hina." I'll be in your care in the future. Lu Jingtian smiled sweetly with a friendly look in her eyes. She suddenly stood at the side, not daring to speak. Chapter 802. Hee. You're really interesting. Lu Jingtian chuckled, but then she suddenly blurted out something that made no sense. With that, she turned around and left. Xianxia was even more confused. What a weirdo. Shi, this Lu Jingtian's words are quite strange. She gave off a feeling of superiority and arrogance. She was like a rich missy from the upper class, yet she pretended to be calm, which made it seem very deliberate. Shi's expression changed, and she hurriedly pulled her to the side. Sure, don't spout nonsense. This Lu Jingtian's background is not to be trifled with. I feel that the actors in the production team, even if they're just supporting roles, are not to be trifled with, Xianxia quietly said. Shi's lips twitched as she silently retorted, yes, you're the one with the biggest background. Anyway, everyone's background is not to be trifled with. Shi continued, this Lu Jingtian's father is a senior executive of Huanyu and the biggest shareholder on the board of directors. So impressive. Xianxia furrowed her brows. I feel that she looks quite familiar, as if I've seen her somewhere before, but I can't recall where. How can that be? Although she's signed under Huanyu, she hasn't officially debuted yet. She has indeed acted in a few movies, but they're all supporting roles. Moreover, the movies haven't been released yet, Shi said. Xianxia asked, that's strange. Why are they all supporting roles? Isn't her father a senior executive of Huanyu? Isn't it easy for him to invest in a movie to promote his daughter? Shi rolled her eyes. Even if she's his biological daughter, he can't be so reckless. Nowadays, investing in a movie can easily cost hundreds of millions. Her father does have the ability to set up an acting troupe for her, but the box office will definitely flop. If the box office flops, hundreds of millions of investment will go down the drain. Who would be willing to take the risk? It's fine if the box office flops, but what if the movie's reputation flops as well? Can you hear the sound of money being thrown into the water? If you throw it at her, it'll be a one-way trip. Xianxia nodded. So, Huanyu's strategy for her is to let her act in some supporting roles to gain some popularity. Then, when the movie is released, we can use the team to hype it up and package it. Then her fame will come. Hype. What do you think? Creating hype was a shortcut to fame. Before you even debuted, Huanyu was already hyping you up. Even now, the official Weibo account of The Green Apple is also hyping you up. Your fans on Weibo have almost exceeded 10 million. This is the effect of hype. Shi was about to vomit blood. This Xianxia was simply the best artiste she had ever managed. Other artists only cared about how to increase their fame, but she only cared about how to act well. One had to know that she was now in a gold medal production team. Everything was in her favor. It could be said that it was the best time to create hype. Her reputation online couldn't be any better. Many people were very supportive of her role as Xianxia and were willing to support her. What's more, everyone in the crew was a topic of conversation. Yang Mi, Li Jiuxian, and Gu Xingze. Which one of them wasn't the hottest idol in the world? Even if she uploaded a selfie with Gu Xingze on Weibo, it would still be a hot topic and gain popularity. However, this Xianxia, let alone creating hype, only updated her Weibo once every few days, and it had nothing to do with filming. Chapter 803. It was no wonder that Yan Bingqing hated her. She did not know how to make use of the resources she had. How are we going to hype her up? Xianxia was curious about how Huanyu was going to promote her. I heard that Huanyu wanted to use Gu Xingze's fame to hype her up, but Gu Xingze didn't agree to it. Why didn't he agree to it? Gu Xingze's fame was at its peak. As long as he used Lu Jingtian to gain some popularity, she would become famous. Do you think everyone is like you? Back then, Huanyu used Gu Xingze to hype you up, and Gu Xingze was actually willing to cooperate. Xingze is really strange. He's willing to use his fame to promote you, but not Lu Jingtian. I don't understand him. Her assistant had a strange look on her face. Xianxia was stunned. When she had just debuted, Huanyu had used Gu Xingze's popularity to promote her. The outside world had speculated that she and Gu Xingze had a close relationship, and they were even rumored to be lovers. Hence, at the movie's opening ceremony, the reporter's series of questions about this issue caught her off guard. Xingze has never liked being hyped up. Sure, you may be the only exception. In order to promote Lu Jingtian, Huan Yu threatened and enticed him. They even offered him 0.1% of their shares, but he didn't agree. It said that Huan Yu had originally planned a script to promote Lu Jingtian as Gu Xingze's rumored girlfriend, but Gu Xingze refused and didn't give them any leeway. Her assistant continued, at Huan Yu's annual gala, Huan Yu had originally arranged a female companion for Xingze, and that was Lu Jingtian. In the end, Gu Xingze invited you to be his female companion. Only Gu Xingze would dare to do so. Huan Yu didn't dare to do anything to him. After all, Xingze is now one of Huan Yu's shareholders. With his status, Huan Yu wouldn't dare to act rashly if he didn't agree. Yun Shishir was stunned. At that gala, Xingze's female companion was originally Lu Jingtian? Yes. Xingze had initially agreed to it, but he ended up inviting her instead. Lu Jingtian was almost angered to death when he suddenly kicked her out. In a hurry, she had no choice but to rush to the gala alone. The topic is gone, and so is the buzz. That day, you were in the limelight as Gu Xingze's female companion. Don't be fooled by her courteous attitude toward you earlier. Who knows if she hates you deep down? Thank you for reminding me. Yun Shishir was halfway through her words when she suddenly realized something. It suddenly dawned on her why she found the other woman so familiar when she saw her earlier. At the mention of the gala, she recalled that Lu Jingtian was the woman who had tried to trip her up at the gala. He did not recognize her because her makeup was different from the day of the gala. On the day of the banquet, she was dressed extravagantly and wore heavy makeup. Today's makeup was more plain, so he couldn't recognize her immediately. Yun Shishir silently complained in her heart. This level of makeup was not much different from plastic surgery. It was no wonder she couldn't recognize her. It was as if she had changed her face. Makeup was indeed one of the sorcery. It could change a woman's appearance completely. Looking at Lu Jingtian now, she was no longer as stunning as she had been at the gala. Her facial features were neither beautiful nor exquisite, and neither did they stand out. She wondered what she looked like without her makeup. Yun Shishir carefully thought about it. It was no wonder that Lu Jingtian looked at her as if she had seen her enemy that day. It turned out that she had snatched her resources. Chapter 804. Thinking back on the smile that Lu Jingtian had given her earlier, she felt that it was really hypocritical. I haven't been in the industry for long, yet I've already made a lot of enemies. Am I that unpopular? Yun Shishir asked self-deprecatingly. Her assistant smiled. Sure, you have to adjust your mentality. Having a lot of enemies only means that you're popular. People are jealous of you, so they target you. If you're unknown and not famous, who will take you seriously? Those who see you as a thorn in their flesh are all jealous of your resources. You can be considered a clear stream in the industry. Yun Shishir was stunned. This industry is really complicated. It is, her assistant said. How many true friends do you think there are in this industry? The industry is so big, and there are only so many resources. Many of them are sneaky people who are fighting for fame and fortune. You must be more careful in the future. Even if you have a strong background, sometimes you'll be in trouble if those people catch a little pain and use public opinion to attack you. Water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. You must maintain your image in front of your fans. Her assistant's advice was very pertinent. Yun Shishir heard it in her heart and smiled. Thank you, Mushi. Sigh, Shishir, you really don't know how lucky you are. If you don't have Huan Yu supporting you, how can a newbie like you win against Yan Bingqing? Yun Shishir said sincerely, to be honest, I don't have much ambition. Acting is just a hobby of mine. I've never thought of fighting for fame and fortune. It's just because I like it. I just see acting as an ordinary job and a way of life. Isn't it a little inconsiderate of you to meet someone like me who has no ambition? It's quite inconsiderate, her assistant said truthfully, hitting her sore spot. Yun Shishir's lips twitched. Do you have to be so blunt? Her assistant smiled. To be honest, if these words came out of someone else's mouth, it would sound very pretentious and pompous. Which person who entered this industry did not come for fame and fortune? Even if it was by accident at the beginning, after entering the circle and being influenced by others, it was difficult for him to maintain his original heart. However, when it came from Xianxia's mouth, it sounded very pure. If many artists had such unique resources like hers, they would have used all means to create hype. But Xianxia really treated acting as a job. But this circle is not an ordinary one. You have to be careful. Over the next few days, after Lu Jingtian joined the production team, her main task was to catch up on Yan Bingqing's scenes. Previously, Yan Bingqing acted as Lin Hana's character. After that incident, Yan Bingqing was banned and removed from the cast. Those scenes had to be res-hot. There were many scenes where Xianxia and Lin Hana had to be filmed together. Lin Fengtian kept the close-up shots of Xianxia, but the other scenes had to be res-hot. It had only been a few days since Lu Jingtian joined the production team. In the past, the production team had always been careful around this young missy, who was born in Huanyu's top management. Lu Jingtian was famous for her temper, which was not much better than Yan Bingqing's. In the past, when she was filming in another production team, she would often vent her anger on the production team whenever she had a disagreement. Her temper was notoriously bad. Chapter 805. From the start to the end, the gentle and friendly side she displayed in front of the production team took everyone by surprise. What was also surprising was that she did not find trouble with Xianxia and got along well with everyone in the production team. When it came to the basement scene, Lu Jingtian did not make things difficult for Xianxia like Yan Bingqing did. Instead, she did her homework in advance. Her gaze, positioning, lines, and expressions were all done in one go. For the slap scene, she used Meng Qiqi's technique and did not insist on using real weapons like Yan Bingqing did. Hence, she passed the scene with just 3 NGs. The result was very good, and Lin Fengtian was very satisfied. Mu Shi was shocked. It was said that a dog could not change its habit of eating feces. Lu Jingtian's personality had changed drastically. She was no longer as arrogant and unreasonable as before. It was as if she had become a completely different person. Mu Shi was taken aback and found it hard to believe. However, Xianxia was naturally happy to be able to get along with her peacefully. Ever since Yan Bingqing's incident, those in the production team who had offended Xianxia in the past had sincerely apologized to her. This included Yang Mi, who had changed her attitude toward her and was intentionally or unintentionally close to her. After getting along with her, Xianxia felt that Yang Mi was a decent person. Although she was a little shrewd and scheming, she was not like Yan Bingqing, who had so many thorns that it hurt. Yang Mi had debuted for almost 10 years. She had acted in a drama when she was young and officially entered the entertainment industry at the age of 17. In terms of qualifications, she was also a senior. Xianxia had always been humble toward her. Yang Mi had also completely changed her opinion of her. Initially, she was a little annoyed with Xianxia, thinking that this newbie must have used dirty means to obtain so many resources when she had just debuted. However, after getting along with her, she admired Xianxia's true nature and turned her enemy into a friend. Sometimes, she would even upload selfies with Xianxia on Weibo. Xianxia also learned how to use Weibo and often interacted with the other actors in the production team. However, the only thing that troubled Xianxia was Gu Xingzi's indifference towards her. One day, the weather was hot, so she specially bought water to distribute to the crew. Gu Xingzi had just finished filming and was about to enter the waiting room. Xianxia saw him and handed him a bottle of water. However, Gu Xingzi acted as if she was invisible and brushed past her without even looking at her. While Xianxia was still in a daze, he walked into the lounge and closed the door, leaving her outside. What had happened to make him so estranged from her? Could it be because of what happened that day? Xianxia inevitably felt down. In her heart, Gu Xingzi was undoubtedly a senior worthy of respect. He had helped her a lot, but now he was like a stranger to her. She could not help but feel disappointed. Mu Shi saw it all too. She, too, Could not understand how the superstar and Xianxia seemed to have been separated by a vast expanse of wilderness overnight. They were like strangers, no different from strangers. They used to be very close. She still remembered that Xianxia was even willing to arrange Qin Zhou, his trump card, for Xianxia's sake. Back then, Qin Zhou became Xianxia's manager because Xianxia added fuel to the fire. Why was their relationship so strained now? What in the world had happened? She was worried, but she did not dare to ask. Chapter 806. Xianxia had a feeling that Xianxia was avoiding her on purpose. But she could not figure out what Xianxia was thinking. After all, they were on the same set and they would see each other often. His cold attitude towards her undoubtedly made her feel uneasy. It was probably because she was bothering him. Xianxia thought for a while and smiled mockingly. She had no choice but to turn around and leave. In the waiting room, Xianxia leaned against the door and listened to Xianxia's footsteps as she walked away slowly. A trace of pain and loneliness appeared on his originally cold face. He did not want to deliberately give her the cold shoulder. It was because he knew that if he did not control his feelings for her, once he lost control, it would be out of control. It was not that he was a coward and did not dare to fight for her, but that he might not even have the right to fight for her. The person in Xianxia's heart was not him, was it? Then, his love would only become a burden and hurt her. Maintaining distance and estrangement was the only way. This was the first time in his life that he had feelings for a woman, but it was probably going to end in vain. He slowly sat down on the sofa and let his body sink into it. He casually picked up a bottle of mineral water, opened it, and took a few sips. Suddenly, he was upset and raised his hand to throw the bottle of mineral water at the makeup mirror. Crack, crack, crack. Cracks appeared on the huge mirror. The table was in a mess. When the assistant Rua Bing walked in, the whole waiting room was in a mess. All the makeup tools were scattered on the floor and the mineral water bottle was lying on the table. Water kept dripping onto the floor. She was shocked and looked around. Soon, she saw a person huddled up in the corner. Xianxia was rubbing his hair and his face was buried in the shadows. His hair covered his forehead and his expression could not be seen clearly. However, he looked lifeless. Rua Bing was shocked. She had never seen Xianxia show such a weak and helpless expression on his face. It was as if he was an orphan abandoned by the whole world. She walked over and carefully put her hand on his shoulder. Xianxia did not move. He just sat quietly in the corner and did not move at all. Even the rise and fall of his breath was so weak. "Xianxia, what's wrong?" Rua Bing asked softly with a concerned expression. Xianxia did not speak and only turned his body slightly. Rua Bing's hand fell from his shoulder. She looked up at the room and the messy dressing table and shook her head slightly. She said softly, "Xianxia, I'll clean this place up first. Well, if there's anything you're unhappy about, you can tell me." Xianxia remained silent and did not say a word. Rua Bing began to clean up. She cleaned the water stains on the floor and tidied up the bottles on the dressing table. Suddenly, she heard the sound of a cigarette lighter behind her. Her face froze for a moment. She turned around and saw that he had lit a cigarette. She was shocked. When did he start? He did not have the habit of smoking in the past. After recovering from her shock, Rua Bing quickly walked over and took the cigarette between his fingers. She stepped on it and put it out on the ground. Xianxia raised his head slightly. His eyes were covered by his fringe and revealed a cold gaze. Rua Bing was slightly shocked by him, but she still mustered up her courage and asked, "Xianxia, why did you suddenly start smoking?" Chapter 807. You can't smoke anymore. You still have to record an album tomorrow and record a demo for the movie theme song. Your throat will be damaged if you continue like this. Xianxia glanced at her coldly, but quietly took out another cigarette from the cigarette box, lit it again, and took a deep puff. The flickering sparks were weak, but they lit up his cold eyes. Rua Bing could not do anything to him. She squatted down and said patiently, "Xianxia, is there something bothering you? You can talk to me. There's no need to make things difficult for your body." Xianxia remained silent, ignoring her as if she were air. Rua Bing looked embarrassed, but she could not do anything to him. She had been by Xianxia's side for a few years. She knew very little about Xianxia. She only knew that he was an extremely sentimental person. Other celebrities changed their assistants again and again, but he never changed. From the beginning to the end, it was still the two assistants who had been by his side since his debut. He would keep the things he loved by his side, no matter how old they were. He was the nation's top idol, a superstar of his generation, and an insulator against gossip. So many female celebrities flocked to him, but he was all alone from the beginning to the end. Other than that, she did not know anything else about him. Perhaps, no one had ever been able to enter his heart. When Xianxia was studying abroad at the age of 15, he was spotted by a talent scout and was recommended to Huanyu. He officially signed a contract, starred in his first movie, and released his first album. He was famous. Until then, his career had been smooth sailing. But on the surface, aside from the limelight, Xianxia only gave people a feeling. Lonely. Yes, lonely. Other than Qinzhou, there was probably no one who could really get close to him. It probably had something to do with his childhood. It was said that he was the illegitimate son of the Gu family in the capital. When he was young, his mother died early. At a very young age, he was exiled by the Gu family to a foreign country and lived alone. Until he met Qinzhou at the age of 15. In Ruobing's eyes, he had always been cold, like a high and mighty prince who was difficult to get close to. However, this was also the first time she had seen him lose control like this. For a moment, she couldn't do anything to him. Xianxia, you still have a scene in the afternoon. Are you okay in this state? He finally opened his mouth. Ruobing finally calmed down. That's great. Adjust your condition and rest early. With a cigarette in his mouth, he lowered his gaze. Right now, acting was the best way for him to vent his emotions. Sometimes he really wished that time would stop. She lived her entire life in the drama. At least in the movie, he could hold her hand, hug her and kiss her. However, he had revealed his true feelings and was too immersed in the role. She was really just acting. There were two scenes in the afternoon. One was a scene between Lu Jingtian and Jun Emo. The other scene was between Xianxia and Yun Shishir. These two scenes were very important in the book. Jun Emo did not appear much in this movie, but every time she appeared, there was an important plot. She had just stepped into the film industry and was not good at acting, so she put in a lot of effort into the script. She also often looked for Yun Shishir to practice with her lines. She worked very hard to memorize the lines of a scene several times. Chapter 808. After Yin Xiaochuan returned to the country, she had another emotional entanglement with Yin Dongyu. Because Yin Xiaochuan was hospitalized for pneumonia, Yin Dongyu was absent from his engagement with Lin Hina. Lin Hina flew into a rage out of humiliation and went to the hospital where Yin Xiaochuan was. She wanted to denounce Yin Xiaochuan, but she met Su Qi, who was blocking the door of the ward. The two had an argument. It was also a tear-jerking scene in the movie. Lin Hina angrily questioned Su Qi, "Are you just going to watch the woman you love throw herself into someone else's arms? Do you really love her? From what I see, your so-called love is nothing more than lip service. Are you really willing? Giving away the woman you love so much to someone else?" Su Qi calmly said, "I love her, so I'll give her the greatest freedom." For this scene, Jun Emo had specially rehearsed it with Yun Shishir many times. As a result, Yun Shishir almost memorized the script by heart. She had put in a lot of effort, so when it came time to act, Jun Mo's performance was very good. She was full of emotions, her lines were affectionate, and every expression on her face was well managed. Especially at close range, the tension in Jun Mo's eyes gave people goosebumps. On the other hand, Lu Jingtian was in the right state, but her expression paled in comparison to Jun Mo's. Especially that line, "Su Qi, you're such a coward for pushing the woman you love to someone else." She laughed several times. Lin Fengtian's face was about to turn green with anger as he scolded her. Lu Jingtian was almost in tears from the scolding. She ran back to the lounge with reddened eyes and finally adjusted her state of mind. However, when it came time to act, her emotions were still not in place. She had NGs again and again. Lin Fengtian was so angry that he scolded her again. She really wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Lin Fengtian was so angry that he pointed at her and scolded her in front of everyone. Lu Jing, I really can't be bothered to scold you. A minute, what kind of *T are you acting? Do you think you're acting very well? Why don't you take a look at what you're acting as? Also, go back and look in the mirror and see what makeup you're wearing. It's so thick, are you acting as a delinquent? Don't look at the script when you go back. Take a look at the self-cultivation of an actor. You want to be famous? But wishful thinking. It would be faster to go back and buy a pillow to dream. Do you think you can become famous just because you look better in Korea? Your acting skills are so bad. Do you believe that I'll cut you into a passerby? Lin Fengtian was the infamous demon Scissorhands. When everyone present heard Lin Fengtian scolding Lu Jingtian, they wanted to laugh but did not dare to do so they could only hold it in. Especially Jun Mo, she was about to suffer internal injuries from holding it in. Yun Shishir, however, could not help bursting into laughter. She immediately held back her laughter and tugged at the corner of her shirt. Stop laughing, Shishir. Sure enough, Lu Jingtian, who was already feeling aggrieved after being scolded by Lin Fengtian, shot Yun Shishir a sinister look. Lin Fengtian scolded her furiously when he saw her getting distracted. What are you looking at? You're not serious about acting and you're distracted even after being scolded? Lu Jingtian shuddered at the scolding. She wanted to cry, but she wanted to save face, so she forced herself not to cry. This Lin Fengtian was too ruthless in his insults. Her father was one of Huan Yu's higher-ups. Wasn't he afraid that she would go back and complain? Chapter 809. Get this straight, you're an actress, not a missy, do you understand? I'm letting you in on account of your old man. That doesn't mean that I won't kick you out just because your old man is influential. If you don't act well, I'll still kick you out. With your performance, I can pick any of the extras in the group and they'll act better than you. What kind of performance is this? Yun Shishir, who was listening from the side, was utterly convinced by the director's scolding of Lu Jingtian. It was no wonder that the director was rumored to have a fiery temper and dared to speak his mind. It was rare to see a director like him nowadays. Jun Mo, who was listening from the side, was also frightened. This director's ability to scold others was not just for show. Seeing it with her own eyes, she was in awe. Among the directors nowadays, only he dared to scold an actress with a background. He announced an intermission, and the next scene would start at 7 p.m. It was a scene in the rain. The moment he left, Lu Jingtian covered her mouth and ran to the washroom. The moment she left, the extras burst into laughter. Yang Mi could not help covering her mouth and sniggering reservedly. Mu Shi too could not help laughing. Aya, this director is really beyond my expectations. His scolding made my liver tremble. I've never seen such a demonic side of him either. That's you, I've seen it many times. He's restrained himself a lot now. In the past, when we were filming in his production team, we had to show 200% professionalism. Otherwise, we'd be asking for a scolding. Mushi laughed. Jun Mo said, Sure, it's your scene with Xianxia next. Do you want me to help you rehearse? Don't laugh at others now. When it's your turn, the director will scold you if you don't perform well. That's right, don't be smug now. If you don't act well, the director will scold you too. There's no such thing as special treatment in front of the director. If you don't act well, you'll be scolded like Lu Jingtian just now. Yun Shishir's face revealed fear. You're making me panic. Junmo, you'd better rehearse your lines with me. Jun Mo ruffled her hair. The little fool. Mu Shi, who was watching from the side, could not help but sigh. Jun Mo, your boyfriend power is so strong. I'm almost turned gay by you. Jun Mo raised her eyebrows. What do you mean? You're so handsome and gentle. I'm about to fall in love with you. Jun Mo blushed and was a little shy. Yun Shishir rebuked, Mu Shi, you're so naughty. You know that our Jun Mo gets shy easily, yet you still tease her like this. Ha! In the afternoon, an uninvited guest came to the set. Yun Shishir had just finished rehearsing with Jun Mo and went to buy a few boxes of water to distribute to the staff as usual. She had just returned to the set when she saw a familiar face. Xianxia. Xianxia was stunned. Why was she here? She saw Xianxia sitting beside Lu Jingtian, who seemed to have been crying for a long time. Xianxia gently patted her back as if to comfort her. The two seemed to have a good relationship. Could it be that they were friends? Xianxia was here to visit the set? Indeed, birds of a feather flock together. This saying made some sense. Seeing Xianxia looking at Xianxia, Junimo looked over and recognized the latter at a glance. She was a little surprised to see Xianxia's gaze on Xianxia. Xianxia, you know Xianxia? Chapter 8:10. Xianxia looked at Xianxia as well. Suddenly, she lowered her head and exchanged a few words with Lu Jingtian. She did not know what they were talking about, but the latter turned to look at her with a pair of eyes that revealed a hint of contempt. Xianxia held Junmo's arm and wanted to leave, but Xianxia walked over and blocked her path. Oh, I was wondering who it was. Turns out it's the shameless mistress. Xianxia whistled and looked at her with disdain. Lu Jingtian did not step forward, perhaps due to the fact that they were on set. With Yan Bingqing as an example, she did not dare to find trouble with Xianxia on set. Xianxia, on the other hand, did not need to be wary of anything. Xianxia glanced at her expressionlessly. She could not be bothered to talk nonsense with her and walked around her to leave. Xianxia took a step forward and blocked her path, not letting her go. What's wrong? Are you hiding from me? Are you feeling guilty? A tree needs its bark, and a man needs his face. Since you dared to be a third party, don't feel guilty. Do you still want your face after doing such a despicable thing? Xianxia's words were extremely provocative. It was clear that she wanted to settle old scores with Xianxia. Xianxia's voice was so loud and high-pitched that almost everyone on set could hear what she was saying. However, in the huge set, almost no one except Yang Mi knew her. As the mayor's daughter and a socialite in the upper-class society, Yang Mi naturally knew who she was. It was just that celebrities like Li Jiuxian, who had just debuted, naturally did not know who the mayor's daughter was. However, when they heard the words mistress and despicable business coming out of Xianxia's mouth, they could not help exchanging glances with each other. Mistress? Xianxia is a third party? Yang Mi frowned slightly. She did not know what was going on, but she knew that Xianxia was clearly looking for trouble with Xianxia. It can't be, right? Who's this woman? I don't know her, but she's so pretty. She's even prettier than Lu Jingtian. She doesn't look like a celebrity. Look at her noble aura and arrogant attitude. She looks like a rich missy. She's more elegant and beautiful than Lu Jingtian's. What does she mean by Xianxia being a mistress? Is Xianxia's a third party? How's that possible? I don't believe it. How can Xianxia be a third party? Everyone could not help but whisper behind the scenes. Junimo, who was listening from the side, frowned. Just as she was about to step in, Xianxia reached out to stop her. She then met Xianxia's provocative gaze, but her face remained calm and collected. Miss Song, you're sick, and you're seriously sick. He's nuts. She's eyes. Xianxia's eyes turned sharp. How dare you say that I'm crazy? What right do you have to talk to me like that? Oh my. You see, your princess syndrome is quite serious. It's terminal. Xianxia's lips curled into a mocking smile, neither servile nor overbearing. Xianxia, I didn't expect you to be so shameless. You seduced a married man and even broke into someone else's family. You're still not repenting. Chapter 8:11. She had a child out of wedlock. As soon as Xianxia finished speaking, there was an uproar on set. Everyone looked at Xianxia, then at Xianxia, and found it hard to believe. Xianxia had an illegitimate child? She was a third party. Such explosive news? It must be fake, right? Xianxia did not seem to be such an evil woman. However, this woman did not seem to be spouting nonsense either. Her words were clear and logical, and it did not seem like she was spouting nonsense. Could it be that Xianxia really had some unspeakable gossip? It was not impossible. As a newcomer, she was blessed with unique resources and was so popular. Before the movie was even released, her limelight had already overshadowed Gu Xing's Heavenly King halo. It was indeed unbelievable. Could it be that, like what this woman said, she had stepped into a rich family and hooked up with a mysterious sugar daddy? After being in the entertainment industry for a long time, one would understand that there was no such thing as a groundless rumor. For a moment, everyone was talking about it, and countless suspicious gazes fell on Xianxia. Xianxia's face was calm as she looked at her calmly. Junimo, however, could not stand it anymore and said angrily, Xianxia, you're not allowed to slander others like this. You said that Xianxia is a third party and that she had a child out of wedlock. Do you have any evidence? Xianxia looked at her with disdain. What are you shouting for? Am I talking to you? An actress dares to put on airs in front of me. I don't know where she got the capital. Get lost. Junmo's handsome face was sullen. She took a step forward and was about to speak when Xianxia stopped her. She did not want Junmo to get involved in this mess for her. Hence, she raised her head and said to her, Junmo, thank you for defending me, but this is a private matter between me and her. It's better that you don't interfere. Junmo looked at her with heartache and said unhappily, I can't stand it. Xianxia, what right does she have to slander you like this? There's no evidence. She's spreading rumors. She's too much. I'm spreading rumors? There's no evidence. Xianxia sneered and mocked. Xianxia, you're really good at acting. Look at how many people your innocent face has deceived. There are really people who think you're innocent and want to stand up for you. But what about the truth? Do you dare to say it? My words have no basis? I'm spreading rumors? I'm slandering you without any evidence? Not only are you good at acting, but you're also good at acting. Keep pretending. Do you also pretend to be a white lotus in front of Brother Mu to deceive him? Xianxia, on the other hand, remained calm. However, there was a look of pity in her eyes as she looked at Xianxia as if the latter was a pitiful worm. Xianxia was hurt by her stare and bellowed, What kind of look is that? Xianxia raised her eyebrows. I just feel that you're really pitiful. Xianxia was speechless for a moment, not understanding the meaning behind her words. What do you mean? Xianxia took a step forward and whispered in her ear slowly, Even if you're angry out of humiliation, you can't change the fact that Mu Yaja is my man. The one who has no right to fight with him is you, understand? Xianxia was stunned. She then raised her hand high to slap her. Be****, you're shameless. Junmo immediately reached out and shielded Xianxia behind her. The slap that was aimed at her face did not land. Xianxia was enraged. She turned around to look, only to see Xianxia standing behind her and gripping her wrists tightly. A pair of handsome eyes filled with chilliness, but incomparably indifferently fell on her body. Chapter 8:12. Xianxia? What was the meaning of this? Why was he stopping her? Xianxia, what are you doing? Are you done fooling around? Xianxia pursed his lips impatiently, his handsome face cold. This is a film set, it's not a place for you to fool around. His grip on her wrist was so tight that it seemed as if he was going to break it. The part of her wrist that was tightly gripped by him suddenly lost its color and turned pale. No matter how hard she tried to break free, it was to no avail. She struggled for a while but still could not break free. She could not help but fly into a rage out of humiliation. Xianxia, let go of me. Xianxia immediately let go of her. Caught off guard, she fell to the ground in a sorry state. She was wearing 7-centimeter high heels today, so when she fell to the ground, she felt a sharp pain in her ankle. It seemed that she had sprained it. Feeling wronged and resentful, she raised her head to look at Xianxia in displeasure. Xianxia lowered his head and looked at her coldly. His expression was frosty, and his eyes were piercingly cold. She was so shocked by his glare that she could not speak for a moment. Lu Jingtian turned pale with fright when she saw this. She immediately went forward to help her up. Xianxia, why are you helping her too? She was so angry that she even forgot to maintain her composure. Xianxia expressionlessly said, Xianxia, I don't have the patience. Don't be unreasonable in front of me, it's very annoying. She was so frightened by his cold glare that she fell silent. Lu Jingtian, who was standing at the side, opened her mouth to say something, But Gu Xingzi swept a glance at her and coldly said, "Shut up." She did not dare to speak again. "Gu Xingzi, you're too much." Her eyes were red, and it was obvious that she was about to cry from anger. "Have you had enough? I told you to shut up, didn't you hear me?" Gu Xingzi suddenly raised his voice. "Who let this miscellaneous person in?" "Miscellaneous personnel?" Song Enya was startled. Just as she was about to retort, Lu Jingtian sensibly tugged at her arm, gesturing for her to stop talking. The security personnel rushed over at once. Glancing at Song Enya and Gu Xingzi with trepidation, he whispered, It's me. From tomorrow onwards, you don't have to come anymore," Gu Xingzi said coldly. The man was shocked at first, but then he nodded helplessly. Gu Xingzi said again, "Chase her out. In the future, no one is allowed to enter." Song Enya stared at him in disbelief, but before she could say anything, she was chased out of the set by the security personnel who had rushed over upon hearing the news. From beginning to end, Jun Mo shielded Yun Shirshir behind her. Only after the latter was chased away from the set did she turn around with a worried look and ask, "Shirshir, are you all right?" "Nothing. What can happen?" Yun Shirshir raised her eyebrows, but she didn't think much of it. "Aren't you angry at her for saying that about you? Why should I stoop to her level when she's just a lunatic?" Lu Jingtian glanced at her, snorted, and returned to her seat. Gu Xingzi suddenly walked over and grabbed Yun Shirshir's arm tightly. Startled, she looked up and saw a strange anger on Gu Xingzi's face. "Xingzi, you," Gu Xingzi pulled her away. Yun Shirshir was confused. She did not understand what he was trying to do and only let go of her hand when he pulled her to a secluded corner. "Xingzi, what's wrong with you?" Chapter 8:13. Yun Shirshir was shocked by his sudden action. She looked up blankly and saw him looking down at her. His eyes were deep and his face was sullen. "Xingzi, just now, she said that you were a third party and that you had a child out of wedlock." Gu Xingzi opened his thin lips slightly and said coldly, "How do you feel after hearing such humiliation?" Yun Shirshir was stunned by his question and did not speak for a long time. "But you're not talking? Is this your choice?" Gu Xingzi glared at her angrily. "Yun Shirshir, is this your choice? Do you like to humiliate yourself so much?" "What do you mean? What can he give you? Glory and wealth? A glorious title or endless fame and fortune? And then, these slander, humiliation, abuse, and contempt. Are all these what you want?" Yun Shirshir was stunned. Even though his face was cold and his tone was cold, she still caught a flash of pity in his eyes. Who was feeling sorry for her? Yun Shirshir was a little speechless. Gu Xingzi continued, "Glory and wealth, fame and fortune, I can give you what he gave you. But if I were your man, I would never let anyone slander you, humiliate you, or abuse you." Yun Shirshir was tongue-tied. Gu Xingzi's tone suddenly became gentler. His handsome face moved closer to her and the anger in his eyes was replaced by tenderness and vulnerability. He looked at her with heartache and wanted to hug the woman in front of him tightly. But he couldn't. Gu Xingzi closed his eyes and said in a hoarse voice, "Shirshir, if you met me before him, would you choose me? If she met him before Muyazha, would she choose him?" Yun Shirshir was stumped by this question. "Xingzi, I've always treated you as an outstanding senior," Gu Xingzi interrupted. "Can you not be a senior?" Yun Shirshir was stunned. "Yun Shirshir, in your eyes, am I really just a senior?" Gu Xingzi slowly opened his eyes. His voice and eyes regained their calmness. "Yun Shirshir, I've always thought that I was a person who stood aloof from worldly affairs. But after meeting you, for the first time, I wanted to fight for something." He had always thought that his heart would never be moved again. He even thought that he would be alone for the rest of his life. But when he met her, it was as if he had been bewitched. His heart was moved by her. Even when she glanced back, every frown and smile made his heart bleed. "You still haven't answered me. Will you choose me? Without Muyazha, would you choose to be with me?" He persistently pursued the matter, not wanting to give up just like that. As long as he heard the word yes from her mouth, he would fight for it by hook or by crook. Yun Shirshir was silent for a long time before she slowly reached out and pushed him away. I'm sorry, Xianxia. Her rejection seemed to leave no room for negotiation. Gu Xianxia looked at her expressionlessly. Suddenly, the corners of his lips curled up slightly. Something seemed to be extinguished in his eyes. When Yun Shirshir came back to her senses and looked up, Gu Xianxia had already left. She took a deep breath and pulled herself together. Walking out of the corner, she saw Mu Shi looking for her all over the set. Shirshir, where did you go? I couldn't find you anywhere. Yun Shirshir, on the other hand, seemed to be in a daze as she did not hear her words. Chapter 8:14. Shirshir, where did you go? I couldn't find you anywhere. Yun Shirshir, however, seemed to have not heard her and was a little distracted. Shirshir. HM? What's wrong with you? Why are you as lifeless as Xianxia? Mu Shi asked helplessly. Nothing, I was thinking about something just now. Pursing her lips, she took out a thermos flask from her handbag and passed it to her. Yun Shirshir took the thermos flask from her and could not help feeling surprised. What's this? It's ginger soup. I just made it for you. Mu Shi then continued, don't you have a scene in the rain at 7 p.m.? I hope you can do it in one take. Quickly take a hot shower after you're done and drink the ginger soup. Otherwise, you'll catch a cold easily. Mu Shi knew that today's scene was a scene in the rain, so she quickly cooked a bowl of ginger soup. Yun Shirshir thanked her gratefully. Thank you. It's nothing. I'm your assistant. I've arranged everything for you. Mu Shi smiled. At 7 p.m., the sprinklers were in place, and the shooting location was set in the hotel's parking lot. After Lin Fengtian arranged the camera positions, the script clerk rushed over and asked the actors to be in place immediately. This scene was about Yin Dongyu's absence from his engagement with Lin Hina because of Yin Xiaochuan's fever. In the ward, he mistakenly thought that she was asleep and revealed his feelings for her, which had been hidden in his heart for many years. Yin Xiaochuan suddenly opened her eyes. In fact, she was awake. When she heard that Yin Dongyu also had such restrained feelings for her, she questioned why he was not with her. Yin Dongyu reacted abruptly and panicked. He left the ward and wanted to drive away. Yin Xiaochuan chased after him. In the rain, the two's emotional entanglement was pushed to the climax. In terms of makeup, Ding Ning specially put on nude makeup for her to highlight her sickly haggardness. When the makeup was done, Ding Ning took a look and could not help but be stunned. Her haggard makeup, pale face and lips, as well as her pair of ethereal eyes, actually revealed a sense of poignant beauty. So beautiful! The script clerk came to rush her again. Yun Shirshir quickly got up. On set, the lights and cameras were in place. Yun Shirshir just arrived and saw Gu Xianxia sitting in his seat with the makeup artist touching up his makeup. Gu Xianxia also saw her. His gaze fell on her pale and haggard face, and his heart clenched. However, when he realized that it was because of the makeup, he calmed down. Scene 28, Scene 1. Yun Shirshir glanced at Gu Xianxia in a daze for a moment before she rushed forward with her umbrella. She had only taken a few steps when Lin Fengtian cut her off. This scene is very important, so I'll have to trouble you to bring out your 200%. Please, Yin Xiaochuan chased after him anxiously. Where's the anxiety on your face? I'm sorry. I'll adjust my state right away. Yun Shirshir immediately apologized. She had indeed been distracted for a moment, so much so that she lost her composure when she took the first step. Lin Fengtian said sternly, Yun Shirshir, you're very talented and have a high level of understanding. I hope you won't disappoint me. Even though he admired her, filming was work. If there were any mistakes at work, he would not be merciful. He was very clear about both the inside and outside of filming. Chapter 8:15. Mu Shi watched from the side with trepidation, only hoping that this scene in the rain would end quickly. The Green Apple, Scene 28, Scene 2, Action. The filming was still not progressing smoothly. The main reason was that Gu Xianxia was not in the right state. Yun Shirshir, on the other hand, was lacking in her vision. Lin Fengtian, who was sitting in front of the monitor, felt that the two were not in the right state and seemed to be preoccupied with their own thoughts. Gu Xingze, in particular, had either a misty look or a deep look in his eyes. The intense emotional struggle in Yin Dongyu's eyes could not be expressed properly. Yun Shirshir, on the other hand, had the vision and could recite her lines well, but her expression was awkward. It was an indescribable awkwardness. Lin Fenggan cut, and then announced, "We'll take a 15-minute break." Mu Shi immediately went forward with a blanket and covered Yun Shirshir with it, helping her back to her seat. Gu Xingze sat beside her too, but he did not look at her, treating her as if she were air. There was no interaction throughout. Lin Fenggan was observant and vaguely sensed that there was something fishy between the two. Hence, he walked to Yun Shirshir, sent Gu Xingze away, and sat in his seat. "Shirshir, you're not in the right state today. What are you thinking about?" "I was distracted. Sorry." He waved his hand. "I don't want to hear this. Have you been in a relationship before?" "I guess. I've been in a relationship before?" Imagine him as the man you love deeply and then put yourself in the role. Imagine the man you love deeply, and he clearly loves you back, but he doesn't dare to love. He played up her emotions. For the next scene, you must show Yin Xiaochuan's anger and hysteria. Yun Shirshir was very perceptive and easily understood what he wanted her to express. "Director Lin, thank you. I understand. Try to pass in one scene." With that, he walked to Gu Xingze's side. His face sank in an instant. "Xingze, for this scene, you just need to follow your inner struggle." Gu Xingze was stunned. Lin Fenggan tapped the table with his fingertips and snorted. "Do you think I can't tell? You like Yun Shirshir, don't you?" Gu Xingze looked up. His face was pale and his eyes were hollow. "Your current state of mind is very suitable for this scene. Yin Dongyu's inner drama. Think about it carefully and express all your inner thoughts later." "That will do." Lin Fengtian's eyes were sharp. How could he not see Gu Xingze's feelings for Yun Shirshir? He liked her. But this fondness could only be buried in the bottom of his heart. Gu Xingze frowned slightly. Lin Fengtian stood up and patted him on the shoulder. "Think about it carefully. Try to pass it in one go." With that he left. Gu Xingze looked up and his eyes met with Yun Shirshir's. She was sitting not far away from him. When she saw that he was looking at her, she immediately looked away. 15 minutes passed quickly. Yun Shirshir and Gu Xingze returned to the scene. The staff held up a hose and sprayed it into the sky, creating an artificial rain curtain. The Green Apple, Scene 28, Scene 7, Action. "Yin Dongyu!" Yun Shirshir screamed hysterically. From the start, she was in the right state of mind. This scream was so loud that her voice almost broke. Chapter 8:16. Gu Xingze stood in the rain with his back to her. Yun Shirshir rushed into the rain. Seeing that he had stopped in his tracks, she slowly walked forward and tried to hold his hand. However, the moment her trembling fingertips were about to touch his hand, Gu Xingze retracted his hand as if he had been electrocuted. Yun Shirshir's eyes revealed an extremely hurt look. "Brother," a helpless and weak cry directly hit the weakest part of people's hearts. Yun Shirshir said in a hoarse voice, "Why are you always running away from me? Why do you love me too? Why do you always want to run away from me when you love me so much? What are you running away from?" Gu Xingze's heart trembled slightly, but he quickly suppressed the turbulent emotions in his heart and pretended to be calm. "I'm not running away. You are. You clearly are." Yun Shirshir broke down and said, "You've always been running away from me. Always." As she spoke, she reached out and hooked her hand around his. This time, he did not avoid her. Yun Shirshir stared at his back again and said carefully, "Didn't we agree in the past? We'll be together for life, forever. Have you forgotten what you promised me?" Her pale lips trembled uncontrollably as she pleaded in a broken voice, "Brother, love me, okay?" There was a long silence. Lin Fengtian immediately zoomed in and gave Yun Shirshir a close-up shot. The fragile look in her eyes was full of tension. Lin Fengtian secretly cheered in his heart. The dead silence felt like a century. After a long time, Gu Xingze sighed and muttered, "How should I love you?" He turned his head and the camera zoomed in on his face. Gu Xingze frowned slightly. The hesitation and vulnerability in his eyes were almost obvious. Even Xianxia's heart could not help but tremble when she saw this gaze. "Xiachun, how should I love you?" The scene finally passed. Lin Fengtian stood up and applauded in shock. Xianxia also left her character with a gratified smile on her face. Gu Xingze, on the other hand, seemed to be too immersed in his role and looked lonely. Xianxia caught a glimpse of his expression from the corner of her eye and her smile froze on her lips. "Wrap up? Get ready, that's all for today." Gu Xingze abruptly turned around and walked toward the building. Xianxia was still in a daze. She quickly brought a blanket over and urged, "Xia, hurry up and take a shower." Xia's mind and she nodded. "Do you need me to accompany you?" "No, I'll go myself." "Remember to drink the ginger soup after you shower." The production crew had booked a floor next to the hospital. The rooms inside were specially reserved for the production crew. At this moment, the sky was already dark. The receptionist at the front desk was dozing off. Xianxia held the room card tightly in her hand and carried the thermos flask as she walked into the hotel. At the elevator entrance, she bumped into Gu Xingze. She was stunned and could not help but feel awkward. During the scene in the rain earlier, she was completely drenched. Gu Xingze, on the other hand, had been holding an umbrella the whole time and only got a little wet. "You have to remember to take a shower too. Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll catch a cold." He responded lightly, but his gaze was fixed on the elevator door. The elevator kept jumping up and down. Ding dong. It was a text message notification. Chapter 8:17. The elevator door opened and Gu Xingze walked in. Xianxia had also finished replying to the text message and followed him into the elevator. However, when she stepped into the elevator, she felt a violent tremor under her feet. The lights in the elevator suddenly flickered a few times, and the elevator suddenly lost control and fell. At this moment, Xianxia was already halfway into the elevator. Just as the elevator was about to lose control and fall and she was about to be caught, Gu Xingze quickly grabbed her arm and pulled her into the elevator. Xianxia lost her balance and fell into his arms. Bang! Her phone fell to the ground. The two of them fell to the ground together because of the tremor in the elevator. Then they felt a strange centrifugal force and the elevator continued to fall. Bang! It was as if it had fallen to the bottom. After a short moment of suffocation, there was a loud clang. The entire floor of the elevator seemed to have collided violently, and it was so loud that their ears were buzzing. Gu Xingze subconsciously hugged Xianxia tightly in his arms. At that moment, he felt as if his bones were about to break from the impact of his back hitting the ground. Then the entire elevator shook and the lights flickered. Everything returned to silence. At this moment, the elevator doors slowly closed. Xianxia could not react in time. She did not realize what had happened at all. When everything quieted down, she looked around and saw that the elevator's floor display was black. In the elevator shaft, there was the sound of a rope being sawed. In the quiet and narrow space, these cold sounds only made one feel uneasy and anxious. The elevator malfunctioned? That was her first reaction. She turned to look at Gu Xingze but saw that his face was pale and he seemed to have a lingering fear. Clearly, he was still in shock from the accident that had happened earlier. Just imagine, if he had not acted fast enough, he might have only been able to watch Xianxia get caught in the elevator. As for the consequences, he did not even dare to think about it. Xianxia also carefully recalled that when she stepped into the elevator just now, she felt that the elevator suddenly fell. Gu Xingze grabbed her and dragged her into the elevator. Thinking about it carefully, Xianxia felt a chill run up her spine. If Gu Xingze had not reacted quickly enough, or if he had chosen to push her out instead of pulling her in, she would have been in deep trouble. Because of the situation just now, it was too late for him to push her out. She was almost caught in the elevator. The fear in her heart seemed to want to swallow her whole. She had just brushed shoulders with the god of death. Xingze. Xiaxia's heartbeat quickened and her palms were full of cold sweat. However, she still calmed down immediately and said gratefully, "Thank you." Gu Xingze closed his eyes and quickly calmed himself down. He stood up slowly and pressed the button for the floor. The lights on the floor were no longer on. The lights above his head flickered and the exhaust fan was still running. He turned around and looked at Xianxia. His thin lips moved slightly. Xianxia, don't be nervous. I'm here. Xianxia responded with an "zhu" and felt strangely calm. She did not feel so nervous anymore. Chapter 8:18. Xianxia felt a headache coming on. How did this happen? He had been in the industry for so many years and had often flown around the world. He had also encountered hotel elevator malfunctions, but it had never happened to him. However, until he experienced it himself, he could feel the uneasiness and panic of being trapped in an elevator. He reached out and pressed the emergency bell. However, after pressing it for a long time, no one responded. What's going on? Xianxia looked puzzled. Is it malfunctioning? Xianxia also stood up and tried pressing the floor button, but the lights did not turn on at all. She pressed the emergency bell again. The bell rang, but no one responded. What's going on? Why is the emergency bell not working? Malfunctioning? It doesn't seem like it. Strange, there should be people on duty in the elevator management room 24 hours a day, Xianxia said gloomily. How can this hotel be like this? The security measures are terrible. This hotel is a small one. Many hotels are like this, Xianxia said. Xianxia asked, have you encountered this before? Yes, I have. I saw it on the news. Oh, I saw it on the news too. Didn't a university elevator malfunction before? A student got stuck in the elevator and died, Xianxia said. Xianxia said, I saw that report too. I didn't expect this to happen to me. It was so dangerous just now. Xianxia saw the phone that had fallen and quickly picked it up. The phone had been turned off. She quickly turned it on and wanted to use the phone to call for help. Xianxia saw her actions and said, it's no use. The phone signal in the elevator is blocked. There is no mobile network coverage. Moreover, we are in the basement now. Sure enough. Xianxia turned on the phone, but there was no signal. She could not make the call. What should we do? There is no signal at all. There was no network and no signal. There was no way to communicate with the outside world. She suddenly panicked and fell into a deep helplessness. No one responded to the call for help, and there was no signal on their cell phones. They were like people who had gotten lost in the wilderness, isolated and helpless. Xianxia's brows furrowed slightly as he tirelessly pressed the button for help over and over again. However, perhaps due to the elevator's lack of maintenance or some other reason, no one responded for a long time. Could it be that someone in the security room was dozing off? In the end, he secretly left his post and went to play. Half an hour later, there was still no response. Frustrated, he punched the elevator door and finally gave up. Xianxia sighed. Are we on the third floor of the basement? Yes. She asked again, will the elevator resume braking? I won't. Xianxia turned around and said, there's an emergency device in the elevator. It's malfunctioning and has stopped the brakes. So now, we can only wait for the maintenance staff to arrive? He pondered for a moment and slowly said, yes, that's the only way. Xianxia suddenly lost all her strength and felt a little desperate. Then when will they find out that someone is trapped in the elevator? Xianxia looked at her and suddenly walked to her side. He picked up a blanket that had fallen on the ground and covered her body. Don't be afraid. By tomorrow morning, someone will find out. This is already the worst-case scenario. The look of relief on his face gave her great confidence. Chapter 8:19. The moment she lowered her head, the water droplets on her hair dripped onto the floor of the elevator. Xianxia frowned and urged, dry your hair first. You've been drenched in the rain, don't catch a cold. Seeing that she was drenched, he recalled that she had been in the rain for a long time. Because he was not in the right state, she had been drenched for a full 3 hours. He pursed his lips and could not help but blame himself and worry. Are you cold? A little. Xianxia curled her lips in embarrassment. Seeing the unconcealable worry in his eyes, she suddenly burst into laughter. Xianxia did not know whether to laugh or cry when he saw her laugh. What are you laughing at? You're finally not so cold. Xianxia said truthfully. If not for the elevator malfunction, she did not know how long Gu Xingze would continue to be cold to her. Gu Xingze was stunned for a moment before he laughed helplessly. He picked up a corner of the blanket and wiped her wet hair. Suddenly, he parted his thin lips. "I'm sorry." Xianxia remained silent. She lowered her head and unlocked her phone. She turned on the music and played a single from Gu Xingze's album that had just been released. The sound of the music dispelled the uneasy atmosphere in the elevator caused by the dead silence. Gu Xingze also sat down and leaned close to her. It seemed that this way he could transmit his warmth to her. After the production team packed up the props, many staff members left. More than 2 hours had passed, but Xianxia was still nowhere to be seen. She raised her hand to look at the time. It was already midnight. Why was she not here yet? She dialed Xianxia's number, but the robotic female voice said that the call could not be reached at the moment. She rushed to the hotel, only to see the person at the front desk dozing off. Hence, she walked to the elevator and pressed the up button, but the other elevator did not respond. It was a black screen. "The elevator is broken?" She muttered gloomily. "What kind of lousy hotel is this?" This hotel wasn't a 5-star hotel. Although it wasn't considered high class, it was close to the filming location. Other than a 4-star hotel nearby, the other hotels were even more dilapidated. Only this one was slightly more proper. Lin Fengtian considered the issue of funds and booked the 2nd and 10th floors of the hotel. Among them, the rooms on the 2nd floor were arranged for the staff, and the 2 rooms on the 10th floor were arranged for the main actors. Of course, the main lead would not stay in a hotel. It was just for convenience when filming ran late. Moreover, artists like Yang Mi and Gu Xingze usually had nanny vans to accompany them. Most of the time, this room was only used for them to rest. To be honest, this hotel was really run down. The receptionist did not have any work ethics at all. She dozed off during working hours. One of the elevators was broken, but no one came to fix it. Perhaps it was too late. The maintenance staff had already gotten off work. She did not think much of it. She went up to the 10th floor and rushed to her room. Just as she opened the door, she was greeted by a dark room. It was as if no one had been there at all. She was stunned for a moment before she mustered up her courage to knock on Gu Xingze's door, but no one responded. There was no one there either. When she returned to the 1st floor, she passed by the front desk and wanted to ask the staff at the front desk if they had seen Xianxia. When she walked over, she saw that one of the staff on the night shift was dozing off. Forget it. It's pointless to ask. They're all dozing off. What else can they see? Chapter 8:20. I'll expose this hotel's service on the internet. She did not suspect that the elevator had malfunctioned, nor did she expect that the person she was looking for was trapped in the elevator. It was not that she was careless or careless, but how would an ordinary person think of this? After all, under normal circumstances, elevator malfunctions would only happen on the news. Hence, she did not think too much about it. She walked out of the hotel and dialed Xianxia's number again, but it still could not get through. She dialed several times, but all she heard was the mechanical female voice repeating the prompts. She wanted to dial Gu Xingze's number, but then she realized that she did not have Gu Xingze's number. What's going on? She rubbed her hair in frustration. Where did these two go? Why were they both uncontactable? By the time she returned to the set, the props were almost all packed. Lin Fengtian was still busy. She stepped forward and cautiously asked, "Director Lin, have you seen Xianxia?" "Xianxia?" He turned around. "Why would I see her? Aren't you her assistant?" She was at a loss for words. He laughed. "You're her assistant. If you don't know where she went, how would I know? Wasn't she drenched earlier? I told her to take a hot shower in her room, but she didn't come back. She complained. Have you looked for her in the hotel? There's no one in the room." Only then did he look straight at her. "There's no one in the room? Then, where else could she have gone?" He found it strange. "Did you call her phone?" "I can't get through." "Can't get through?" He frowned. She was so nervous that her face turned red. "I called her a few times, but I couldn't get through. I don't know what's going on." From the corner of her eye, she saw Ruobing packing her backpack. Ignoring the director, she chased after her. Rubbing. The woman stopped in her tracks with a blank look. I'm Xianxia's assistant. Oh. Rubbing smiled. Sorry, I didn't recognize you. It's fine. She asked worriedly. By the way, have you seen my Xianxia? No. Ruobing was confused by her question again. However, he felt that something was off. Why did this little assistant run over to ask about her when her own artiste was missing? She was not Xianxia's assistant. Then, did you see Xianxia? He probably went back. Ruobing said helplessly, although I'm Xianxia's assistant, he's a little. Well, he doesn't like people interfering with his private life. Usually, after filming, he doesn't let anyone follow him. Is it convenient for you to give me his number? She asked cautiously. Ruobing was startled, but she shook her head. I'm sorry, I can't. Xianxia's number is usually not disclosed to others. I don't have any other intentions. I just wanted to ask Xianxia if he saw Xianxia. She pleaded, or, it's fine if you don't give it to me. You can give him a call. It's an emergency, please. Lin Fengtian walked over. Seeing the conflicted look on her face, he said, give Xianxia a call and ask him where he is. Ruobing could not refuse the director's request, so she nodded. Chapter 821. The call went through, but no one picked up the call. At this moment, Xianxia was sitting in the driver's seat of his Porsche parked in the parking lot. His phone kept vibrating and ringing. No one's picking up. Ruobing said, this is Xianxia's work number. He threw it aside after filming. Let's try calling a few more times. She pressed her palms together and pleaded again. All right. The woman nodded helplessly. She called a few more times, but still, no one picked up. Seeing her disappointment, Ruobing comforted her with a smile. Don't worry, Xianxia is an adult and not a child. How could she go missing? You don't have to worry so much. She furrowed her brows, still feeling uneasy. When I first became an assistant, I was just like you. I couldn't wait to stick behind Xianxia as if he were a child. Actually, as assistants, we don't have to worry about every little thing, no matter how big or small. Artistes should have their own private space too. The director thought about it and raised a brow. You go back first, I'll send someone to look for them. Okay. Thank you, Director Lin. She had no other choice. At this moment in the elevator, Xianxia wrapped her wet body in a blanket and curled up in a corner. The damp and cold air kept invading her body. The air conditioner in the elevator continued to pour in cold air. She had been drenched in the rain for so long that her wet clothes stuck to her body. She was wet and cold, and with the air conditioner blowing, she felt even colder. She did not know how long she had been trapped in the elevator, but she felt that time passed abnormally slowly. Gradually, she felt a little lightheaded. Her body slumped in a corner, and she became a little dispirited. Xianxia persistently pressed the help button until the device's battery ran out and it stopped ringing. *a minute. He cursed under his breath and turned around, only to see Xianxia wrapped in a blanket and shivering all over. Xianxia's heart tightened. He immediately walked to her side and squatted down. He carefully placed his hand on her shoulder, but his fingertips came into contact with a patch of dampness. His heart ached, and he gently pushed her shoulder. Xianxia? What happened to you? Xianxia was a little delirious. She peeked her eyes out of the blanket, but there was no focus in her eyes. Cold? So cold. Xianxia raised her head and looked at the mouth that was still emitting cold air. The direction of the wind seemed to be aimed at her. No wonder he felt cold. His entire body was drenched, and the cold air was blowing on his body. He said gently, Xianxia, don't do it here. You'll catch a cold. Xianxia's brows furrowed slightly as she moved slightly. Yes. She held his arm and stood up slightly, but her legs were inexplicably soft. Xianxia touched her hand, only to feel that her palm was covered in cold sweat and her fingertips were burning hot. His heart skipped a beat and he reached out to touch her forehead. A scalding temperature spread from the center of his palm. She had a fever. Xianxia bit his lower lip. His heart was burning with anxiety and anger. On one hand, he was angry at the hotel's terrible emergency equipment, but on the other hand, he felt very sorry for her. Gu Xingze brought her to another corner and took off his jacket to cover her back. He was afraid that she would catch a cold in the cold elevator walls. Yun Shishir did not even have the strength to thank him. Chapter 8:22. She didn't notice the air conditioning in the elevator just now. She only felt that it was getting colder in the corner. She curled up into a ball unconsciously, but she still couldn't resist the cold. Gu Xingze sat beside her. Seeing her dispirited expression, her breathing a little rapid, and her palm-sized face burning red, his heart ached. Unwilling to give up, he pressed the emergency bell again, but there was no more sound. He pressed it continuously, and the battery had long since run out. He kicked the door and it made a loud bang. It wasn't that he didn't shout. However, he knew that the elevator was now parked in the basement. If no one passed by, no one would notice, and no one would hear his cries for help on the first floor. Calling for help with all his might was futile. In fact, a few people had parked their cars in the basement and went upstairs. However, they saw that the elevator seemed to have malfunctioned and couldn't operate, so they went to another elevator. In this world, most people were indifferent. They were in a hurry and didn't care about themselves. After all, in most cases, most people wouldn't be willing to worry about things that had nothing to do with them. Therefore, no one reported to the front desk that the elevator was malfunctioning. Some people thought that the elevator was being repaired, so they didn't ask about it at all. Time ticked by. Gu Xingze picked up Yun Shishir's phone and glanced at it. It was already 3 in the morning. The phone had been playing music and the battery was about to run out. He turned off the music to ensure that the phone's battery was maintained. This desperate situation could be considered as keeping a glimmer of hope for them. If there was a miracle and there was suddenly a signal, they could use the phone to call for help. Yun Shishir covered herself with the blanket and shivered. Gu Xingze gently placed his hand on her forehead. Her forehead was frighteningly hot. His heart became a little anxious. Staying in such a confined and narrow space for a long time already made her feel a little suffocated. If she fell asleep with a fever, it would be easy for her to have breathing difficulties. If the high fever didn't subside, it was even possible for her to suffocate. Therefore, he said gently, "Shishir, don't fall asleep, okay? Wake up." Yun Shishir's voice was muffled. It was hoarse and weak. "My head hurts. It's so cold." Gu Xingze's brows furrowed slightly. Instinctively, he wanted to reach out and pull her into his embrace. However, just as he reached out his hand, he lowered his head to look at her slightly furrowed brows. Suddenly, he froze in midair and didn't move for a long time. He looked at her trembling shoulders and struggled in his heart for a long time. In the end, he placed his hand on her shoulder and slowly pulled her into his embrace. Yun Shishir was startled for a moment. Suddenly, she felt a strong heartbeat in her ears. It was scorching hot. Thump, 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 thump. Every sound was filled with great power. He gathered the blanket around her and wrapped it tighter around her. "Don't fall asleep. Someone will come to save us soon." Gu Xingze comforted her gently. Sensing that the body of the person in his arms had stiffened, he immediately explained, "I was just afraid that you would be cold." "Thank you," Yun Shishir said softly. Her voice was as soft as a mosquito, almost inaudible. "Let's practice our lines." Gu Xingze suddenly said. He was really afraid that she would fall asleep and have an uncontrollable fever. In fact, he didn't know when the rescue team would arrive with the efficiency of this hotel. However, at this moment, he could only comfort her like this. Chapter 8:23. Gu Xingze could not help hugging her tighter when he heard her voice getting fainter. Lowering his head, he suddenly saw a thermos flask beside her hand. His eyes flashed as he opened it. There was still some warm ginger soup inside. He carefully poured out some and brought it to her mouth, reminding, "Shishir, drink some ginger soup." Yun Shishir sat up slightly and took a few sips. After drinking a few mouthfuls of the warm ginger soup, her body seemed to be filled with a faint amount of heat. Gu Xingze poured her another cup, and Yun Shishir obediently finished it. Seeing that she had finished all the ginger soup, Gu Xingze was afraid that she would fall asleep, so he said, I'll sing for you. Yun Shirshir blinked. Gu Xing's lips curled into a smile as he spoke in a hoarse voice. A long, long time ago, you had me, and I had you. A long, long time ago, you left me to soar in the distant sky. She returned home. After washing up, she lay in bed, but she still could not sleep well. Even after returning home, she still tirelessly dialed Yun Shirshir's number over and over again, but she still could not get through to her. Although Lin Fengtian and Rua Bing repeatedly comforted her, she still felt uneasy. Perhaps it was a person's sixth sense. Moreover, although she had not been by Yun Shirshir's side for long, she understood her character. Whether she was coming home or not, she would at least let her know. Yun Shirshir was very polite and treated everyone around her with utmost respect. She would not let her worry, unless it was something out of her control. She tossed and turned in bed as her thoughts ran wild. Suddenly, she sat up in frustration, and the phone beside her pillow rang. In the dark and quiet, the phone's ringing gave her a fright. She was startled at first and then quickly picked up the phone, thinking that it was Yun Shirshir calling. However, the string of unfamiliar numbers displayed on the screen made her heart turn cold. She sighed and picked up the call, asking weakly, "Hello? Hello, are you Yun Shirshir's assistant?" A child's childish voice came from the other end of the phone. It was quiet, but there was a hint of anxiety. He was as steady as an adult. If it wasn't for that immature voice, she wouldn't even be able to tell that it was a child's tone. She was stunned and subconsciously answered, "Yes." On the other end, Yun Tianyu was sitting on the sofa with a business card in his hand. His expression was solemn. "Yun Shirshir is my mommy. She hasn't come back yet, and I can't get through to her phone. I want to ask, do you know where she is?" She was stunned. She immediately reacted, thinking that it was a child's prank. Child? Shirshir had a child? What kind of joke was this? Shirshir was only 24 years old, and she already had a child? She obviously didn't believe him. However, is my mommy still filming with the crew? It was time to go home. She sent me a message earlier, but I haven't heard from her since. I can't get through to her phone too. I'm very worried. Sorry to disturb you. Yu's tone was polite and courteous, but more than that, it was calm and smooth, which was rare for a child. Chapter 824. Yun Tianyu caught a clue. You said that she disappeared without a trace after the shoot? She nodded repeatedly. Yu looked at his watch. It was already past 5 in the morning. What time was it? I can't remember either. At this time, Yu was unexpectedly calm. Think about it carefully. She carefully recalled and said, it should be around 10. I really can't remember the exact time. I didn't pay attention to the time at that time. He hurriedly checked the last message sent by Yun Shirshir. It was 10:12 a.m. The time matched. On the other side, she cautiously asked, "Little friend, is Yun Shirshir your mommy?" "Yes," he replied abruptly. "Where are you now? Is it convenient for you to pick me up?" She looked out the window. It was already late at night. She was a little worried and doubtful of this child, so she said, "Why don't we call the police first?" "Auntie, the police only filed a case after losing contact with her for 48 hours. Although we can still call the police now, it's already so late. How efficient do you think the police will be?" Yu seriously reminded her. She was stunned by his calm analysis. His rationality had completely overturned her worldview. How old was this child? Judging from his voice, he was no more than 6 or 7 years old. Were children nowadays so smart? He even knew the conditions for the police to file a case? "Auntie, I'm very worried about my mommy, but I'm the only one at home now. It's inconvenient for me to go out, so I can only trouble you." "Okay, then your house is Xianxia Walk. I'll wait for you at the entrance." She hung up the phone, changed her clothes, and left with her car keys. Her apartment was only a 10-minute drive away from Xianxia Walk. Soon, she arrived at the entrance of Xianxia Walk. She sat in the car and was curiously looking at the entrance when a light knock came from the car door. The sudden movement startled her. She immediately looked over and saw a little munchkin wearing a white shirt and a small suit with suspenders. He was carrying a small backpack and standing at the car door. Surprised, she quickly unlocked the car door. Then, she watched helplessly as the handsome and delicate little boy nervously climbed into the car. His posture was as light as a cat. He quickly closed the door and fastened his seatbelt skillfully. Then, he looked at her. "Let's go to the set." Her assistant. Could she say that she was frightened? She had never seen a child who was still so calm even after his mommy was gone. She looked at him carefully. The child was only about 6 or 7 years old. He was so tender that it seemed as if milk could drip out of him. He had a handsome and pleasant little face and exquisite facial features. His eyebrows were indeed very similar to Xianxia's. Did Xianxia really have a child? Wuxia was greatly shocked by this fact. Seeing her staring at him in a daze, he waved his hand in front of her. Wuxia returned to her senses and saw his serious expression. "Auntie, you can't be in a daze while driving. It's very dangerous." She mumbled, "Thanks for the reminder, let's drive." Yun Tianyu ordered. In fact, he originally wanted to call Li Hanlin to pick him up. Chapter 8:25. Wuxia drove all the way to the set. At this moment, the set was in dead silence. All the props had been packed up and transported away. The huge parking lot had been restored to its original state, and there were no clues to be found. Yun Tianyu searched the set for a while but did not find anything. She stared blankly at his calm and rational face. She could not tell that he was only 6 or 7 years old. Were children nowadays so precocious? Yun Tianyu walked up to her and asked, "Mommy sent me a message before I lost contact with her. It was around 10 p.m. Where did she go at that time?" "She was drenched, so I let her take a shower in the hotel." "Hotel?" He could not help feeling suspicious. She explained, "Our production team booked a room in the hotel next door. It's usually for artistes to rest." Xianxia's room was on the 10th floor. Yu asked, "Won't we know Mommy's whereabouts if we go to the hotel to check the surveillance footage?" His words woke her up from her daze. She smacked her head. Alright. Why didn't I think of that before?" Yu secretly gave her a look of disdain. Because she was stupid. Of course, he could only criticize her inwardly. He did not show any contempt for her IQ on his face and only asked, "Can you bring me to the hotel, then?" She squatted down and wanted to carry him. Yun Tianyu said, "I'll walk by myself." Wuxia, she wondered if this child had non-human genes. Usually, children would be afraid of walking at night. Did he want to be carried? He did not want to be carried. His face seemed to be full of disdain. She wanted to cry but had no tears. The two rushed to the hotel. The moment they entered, Yun Tianyu started looking around. This hotel was not ordinary rundown. This production team was really stingy. She explained that the production team was controlling the budget, so they did not stay in a high-end hotel. Yun Tianyu did not show it on his face, but he was doubtful inside. Did he not invest a sum of money? Tens of millions. Did a dog eat it? Excluding the remuneration of the stars, the cost of a youth movie was very low compared to those commercial blockbusters that required special effects. Moreover, Leji was not the only investor. Huan Yu had other investors, plus advertising placements, yet they were still staying in such a shabby hotel? Or could it be that the money he had invested had gone missing? Wuxia walked to the front desk and saw that the receptionist had already fallen asleep. She called out a few times, but there was no response. Yu walked over and kicked a stool. The receptionist woke up with a start. Looking around, he saw a handsome little boy standing in front of him, looking at him with disdain. Immediately, he said angrily, Where did this kid come from?" "Auntie, are you awake?" Yu said coldly, but his words were shocking. The young 29-year-old receptionist was petrified when she heard him call her auntie. Wuxia was dumbfounded by his simple and crude method. This child, who did he look like? Right? She had just thought of a question that needed to be investigated. If this was really Xianxia's child, then who was the father of this child? She kept feeling that when she saw his face, a vague image of a man's face suddenly appeared in her mind, but she couldn't remember who it was. Now is not the time to pursue this matter. Chapter 8:26. She then asked, "Receptionist, where is the hotel's surveillance room? Can we take a look at the footage?" The receptionist was stunned. She then yawned and sized her up warily. "You are?" "I'm from the production team of The Green Apple. Our production team has booked 10 rooms in this hotel." The receptionist was a little stunned. "I've just been transferred here not long ago. I heard that a production team has booked this hotel, but why do you want to see the footage?" "It's an emergency, of course. An artiste from the production team went missing after entering the hotel. Her phone can't be reached, and she disappeared after entering the hotel, so we want to take a look at the footage." The receptionist rubbed her sleepy eyes and apologized. "I'm sorry. If someone from the production team goes missing, shouldn't we call the police directly?" "Call the police?" "That's right. May I ask how long has she been missing?" "Since 10 o'clock until now." "Call the police then." Yu said, "Even if we call the police, we'll only take a statement and file the case 48 hours later." Shi nervously said, "Actually, given the current situation, we don't need the police to make an appearance. We just need to know where she went after entering the hotel." "It's like this," the receptionist explained seriously with a frown. "If the police don't make an appearance, we don't have the right to access the footage," the receptionist said truthfully. "Why?" "We don't have the authority," the receptionist said. "Some time ago, a client's laptop and some belongings were stolen from the hotel. He also requested for the footage to be removed. In the end, the police had to intervene to get the footage." Yu furrowed his brows. This hotel's service attitude was really worrisome. She had already gone to the side to call the police. In the end, the police replied that there were not many officers on night duty at the police station. 2 of them were taking statements and could not respond to the call in time. They also said that if the person was missing, it was recommended to call the police 12 hours later or wait until after 8 a.m. for the police to send someone to understand the situation. After hanging up the call, Yu asked about the situation, and she told him the truth. "What should we do?" she asked anxiously, subconsciously asking for his opinion. Even she did not realize that an adult like her was seriously asking a child for advice. Yu's pink lips slightly pursed. Then he thought of something and took out his phone to dial a number. The phone rang for a long time before it was picked up. He said, "Daddy, I'm at Haotai Hotel now. There's an emergency. Come over." She stared dumbfoundedly at him as he calmly hung up the phone. Her mind was in a mess. She could see the anxiety and nervousness in the child's eyes. Even though he was anxious, the calmness he showed was admirable. 10 minutes later, a sports car stopped at the entrance of the hotel. When the slender and handsome man appeared at the entrance, she was stunned. Only then did she realize why this child's appearance was so familiar. Shi's lips twitched as she sized up the father-son pair in a daze. The father of this child was actually the crown prince of the Mu clan, Wuxia. She suddenly understood the killing intent and anger in his eyes when he saw Xianxia being bullied and slapped by Yan Bingqing. Chapter 8:27. Shi was still in a state of confusion. Wuxia walked in and saw the little lad standing at the front desk. He walked over to carry him and asked him what had happened. The receptionist stared at the handsome man in front of her with her mouth agape. Even though Wuxia had rushed out in a hurry and was only wearing a casual shirt, she could still feel his innate elegance and nobility. Come to think of it, this man's identity must be either rich or noble with an extraordinary background. He was tall and had an extraordinary aura. Just by standing there, his aura permeated every inch of the room, making the large space seem extremely narrow and small. While Shi was still in a daze, Yu had already recounted what had happened to him in a very short time. Wuxia's eyes turned cold. "When did she disappear?" Yu said, "Mommy's last reply was at 10:12 p.m. When I called her at 10:30 p.m., I couldn't get through." He could not contact Xianxia, so he rummaged through the house and found Xianxia's and Qinzhou's name cards. He first called Qinzhou's number, but it was switched off. He then called Shi's number, which led to the subsequent incident. Yu continued, "Now, I mainly want to see the hotel's CCTV, but the receptionist said that only the police have the authority to access the CCTV. Mu Yaja's cold gaze landed on the receptionist. The receptionist trembled under his glare and hurriedly explained, "Sir, this is the hotel's rule. I really can't make the decision. If you're not the police, you can't access the CCTV. Have you called the police?" "Yes, but the police said that they will only arrive in the morning." Mu Yaja narrowed his eyes and carried Yu to a corner. He made a call and gave a few brief instructions. She did not know what he said, but soon, 3 police cars arrived in a hurry. What happened next left her dumbfounded. 4 to 5 men in police uniforms alighted. It was the police chief, Chen Wei, who had hurriedly led a team here. When he walked through the door, he saw a tall man standing in the hall. He immediately bowed and walked forward with a flattering and respectful smile on his face. It was worlds apart from Mu Shi's impression of a policeman who did not like to smile. Chen Wei walked up to Mu Yaja and bowed slightly, saying in an extremely respectful tone, "Hello, Su Mu." "Hello. I didn't know it was you, so I've neglected you. Please don't take it to heart." Mu Yaja remained expressionless and did not speak. "Son. Is." Mu Yaja did not fall for his trick, though. His voice was so cold that it made one's scalp tingle. "I think we can skip the pleasantries. Business is more important, isn't it?" This time, it was cold, dignified, and extremely intimidating. He stood there without any expression on his face, but he still exuded an aura of authority. Mu Yaja's name was known by everyone in the capital. It was just that very few people had the honor of seeing his face in person. This was Chen Wei's first time seeing him. Previously, he had only heard of his name. Now that he saw him in person, he was greatly shocked. Tall, handsome, and dignified, just like the rumors said, he was a dragon among men. Chapter 828. Mu Yaja said, "I want to take a look at this hotel's CCTV, but the hotel said that they don't have the authority to do so without the involvement of the police." Chen Wei nodded repeatedly. "Sir, you want to take a look at the CCTV, right? Leave it to me, I'll arrange it right away." With that, he straightened his face and walked to the front desk, putting on a dignified look that a bureau chief should have. Mu Shi, who was standing at the side, could not help but feel a little depressed. It was no wonder that people were so unscrupulous when it came to power and fame. Thinking about it, she had stood before the front desk and pleaded with them in every possible way, but the receptionist had rejected her several times. She even called the police, but no one came. What about now? To put it bluntly, it was just that she did not have enough face. At this time, the receptionist had already called the lobby manager on duty and invited him over. With the bureau chief here, the rest of the matter was naturally much easier to handle. The CCTV room was on the 2nd floor, so a group of people crowded around Mu Yaja as they walked to the elevator. When they passed by the elevator, the receptionist saw that there was no response from one of the elevators and muttered, "Is this elevator broken?" "Broken? Why is it broken?" The lobby manager's face turned ugly. He immediately went forward to test it, and it was indeed broken. "Get someone to fix it this morning." Yu frowned and suddenly asked, "Could it be that Mommy is trapped in the elevator?" Mu Shi was startled and was stunned. That seemed to be a possibility. Think about it. Mommy's phone can't be reached no matter what. Usually, there's no signal only in the elevator. Yu calmly analyzed the situation. At the side, the lobby manager's face turned ugly. How is that possible? If someone is trapped in the elevator, there are people on duty 24 hours a day in the CCTV room. They'll definitely discover it immediately. Maybe the person on duty in the CCTV room is dozing off like the receptionist. Yu retorted. The receptionist blushed. The lobby manager glared at her fiercely but still tried to salvage the situation. "That can't be. Let's go to the CCTV room to take a look, we'll know." However, when the group reached the CCTV room's entrance, they saw 4 security guards playing cards in a corner with glowing faces. Rather than calling it a game of cards, it was more appropriate to call it gambling. The lobby manager was furious and scolded, "It's working hours now. What are you all doing?" The 4 of them were shocked. When they turned around, they saw the imposing and magnificent group. They stood up trembling with fear and awkwardly tried to smooth things over. The lobby manager still wanted to reprimand him, but Mu Yaja glanced at him. Chen Wei immediately understood and hurriedly said, "Don't waste time. Finding the person is more important." To the computer room. The computer room was very small and filled with machines. Hence, with Chen Wei and Mu Shi following behind, Mu Yaja carried Yu Yu in. As soon as she walked in, Yu glanced at the screens and suddenly turned pale with fright. She pointed at one of the screens and said, "It's Mommy." Everyone looked in the direction she was pointing and saw Gu Xingze hugging Yun Shishir in the narrow elevator on the screen. The two were curled up in a corner. Yun Shishir seemed to be in a bad state. Even though the CCTV footage was a little blurry, one could still see her dispirited and listless look. Mu Yaja's heart skipped a beat. He walked to the front of the CCTV screen and pursed his lips into a cold line. His cold gaze swept behind him. His gaze was cold and intimidating. Chapter 829. Xingze is here too. Mu Shi let out a yelp of surprise and went over to take a look. She, too, saw Yun Shishir's body curled up in the blanket as she shivered. Her heart ached for her. Oh gosh. She got caught in the rain and was trapped in the elevator for so long. I wonder if she'll catch a cold. With that, she glared at the lobby manager angrily. Tears were about to fall from her eyes. What's wrong with your hotel? The front desk is dozing off, and there's no one watching over the surveillance room. Even the security guards are playing cards. She's been trapped in the elevator for so long and you don't even know. If anything happens to her, can you bear the responsibility? I'm sorry. The lobby manager apologized profusely, full of regret. Mu Yaja ordered, "What are you waiting for? Hurry and contact the rescue team." Sir. The lobby manager hurriedly contacted the rescue team. Yu Yu's little hand touched the screen. The love in her eyes was almost overflowing. Mommy? Mu Yaja was still angry. He stood in front of the surveillance screen and watched Gu Xingze hugging Yun Shishir tightly. His eyes suddenly narrowed dangerously. Mu Shi was good at reading people's expressions. Seeing the coldness on his face, she immediately explained, "Xingze must be afraid that Shishir will catch a cold, so he's hugging her." It's useless to say all this now. Saving people is more important. Yu calmly said from the side. Mu Shi was secretly surprised and could not help but be impressed by this child's maturity and composure. By the time the rescue team and the fire department arrived, it was already dawn. The ambulance also hurried over. However, it was unknown who leaked the news, but the media caught wind of it. When they heard that Gu Xingze and Yun Shishir were trapped in the elevator, they all squatted at the hotel's entrance to create headlines. Chen Wei immediately called for the police to prevent these reporters from interfering with the rescue. The maintenance staff of the elevator began to investigate the location of the elevator. The conclusion was that the elevator did not stop at the flat floor, but at the bottom. Mu Yaja and the rest stayed in the surveillance room to check on the people's condition while the rescue team went to basement 3. When the elevator door opened, Mu Shi hurriedly called out, "Xingze, Shishir, are you guys there?" Inside the elevator, Gu Xingze heard Mu Shi's call and immediately responded, "Here." Yun Shishir, on the other hand, had a high fever and was unconscious. She did not have any reaction. "We're already thinking of a way to get you out. Xingze, Shishir, how are you?" Gu Xingze quickly replied, "I'm fine, but Shishir has a high fever." "Hurry." Mu Shi was stunned and immediately pleaded, "Please, quickly save him." All right. Miss, please calm down first. We'll get the equipment immediately." As the elevator stopped at the bottom, they first had to manually turn it to a position roughly parallel to the floor before they could save the people. Mu Shi immediately said, "Xingze, Shishir, be careful. We'll be able to get you out soon." Gu Xingze immediately patted Yun Shishir's cheek gently and said, "Shishir, wake up. Wake up, we'll be able to get out soon." Gu Xingze could not help but hug her tighter. He gently planted an encouraging kiss on her forehead, raised his face, closed his eyes, and took a deep breath. Chapter 830. In the elevator room, 2 maintenance workers were setting up the winch mechanism to prevent the elevator from moving too quickly or accidentally when the brakes were released. The other used a mechanical method to loosen and tighten the brakes. When the brakes were released, the other two used their strength to pull the winch mechanism to slowly move the elevator upward. The elevator shook uneasily as the lights flickered. Xianxia curled her body even tighter. The excessive shaking made her headache worse and made her dizzy. Every time there was a violent shaking, there would be a dead silence. Then there would be another tremor. In the control room, Yu was also looking at the scene on the screen anxiously. He suddenly raised his head and said to Wuxia, "Daddy, let's go to basement 3. HM? Mommy doesn't seem to be feeling well. I'm worried." Wuxia carried Yun Tianyu to basement 3. However, when they arrived, they did not see the medical team. Yu asked, and Shi immediately said, "I'll go take a look." Not long after, she hurried back and said, "The entrance is surrounded by reporters. The ambulance is blocked by a human wall, so it can't enter. Chief Chen has already sent more people over." "Reporters?" Wuxia knitted his brows in displeasure. Shi said indignantly, "Yes. I don't know who leaked the news, but when the reporters heard that Xianxia and Xianxia were trapped in the elevator, they all rushed over to get a scoop." Yu also frowned and asked, "Where's the police?" Shi said anxiously, "There are too many reporters. Various media outlets have sent many people to snatch the news and report, so there's not enough police." On the other end, the elevator maintenance workers' walkie-talkie reminded them, "Soon, soon, soon. Be careful." A group of people gathered around the elevator. Then they heard a quang, and the elevator made a deep sound. The walkie-talkie said, "It's in place." When the rescue team opened the elevator door, they saw Xianxia hugging Xianxia in the corner of the elevator. When he heard the commotion, he looked up and bumped into Wuxia. He was slightly stunned, but in the time he was in a daze, Wuxia had already strode into the elevator, picked up Xianxia from his arms, and left without looking back. Yu followed closely beside him and couldn't help but stand on her tiptoes to check on Xianxia's condition. Her small hand gently held her mother's hand, and her delicate eyebrows suddenly furrowed. "Mommy has a high fever." Wuxia lowered his head and pressed his forehead against hers. Feeling the heat from her forehead, a trace of uneasiness appeared on his face. She glanced at Xianxia and then at Xianxia. She hurried in to help him up. Xianxia slightly dodged her attack. She froze in midair. She suddenly remembered that Xianxia seemed to have a serious obsession with cleanliness and did not like excessive contact with others. At the thought of this, she looked slightly embarrassed and smiled with concern. "Xianxia, are you all right?" Xianxia slowly stood up, but he had been squatting for too long. When he stood up, his body swayed slightly and he felt a little dizzy. He wanted to chase after Xianxia to check on her condition, but Wuxia had already carried Xianxia away in a hurry. When he appeared at the door with Xianxia in his arms, it caused a huge commotion. Chapter 8:31. "Oh my God! Isn't that the CEO of Mu Group, Wuxia? What is he doing here? He's hugging Xianxia? And they look so intimate." This scene could not help but make people's imaginations run wild. The reporters discussed animatedly. "I heard that Huanyu banned Yan Bingqing some time ago. Rumor has it that Yan Bingqing bullied a newcomer in the crew. The newcomer in the crew of The Green Apple is Xianxia, who is a little more famous." Someone whispered, "Isn't there a rumor that Xianxia was able to sign a contract with Huanyu's headquarters right after her debut because she has a sugar daddy backing her? Could this sugar daddy be Wuxia?" "It's very possible." The camera flashes were overwhelmed. The reporters scrambled to squeeze at the door and extended their microphones, asking loudly, "Xiao Mu, Lo Mu. Look here. I'm a reporter from Phoenix News Agency. May I know what relationship you have with Xianxia? What relationship do you have?" "Xiao Mu, there are rumors that you have a close relationship with Xianxia. May I know what relationship you have with Xianxia?" Countless microphones were extended in front of him. The flashing lights were blinding. Wuxia hugged Xianxia expressionlessly. He completely ignored these aggressive interviews. How could the reporters let go of such an exciting piece of news? They stubbornly followed behind him. Some even formed a human wall in front of him, blocking his way. Wuxia narrowed his eyes. His handsome face was extremely gloomy, and he was about to explode. Xianxia nestled in his arms. There was a loud noise in her ears. So noisy, the flashing lights were so glaring that it made her eyes hurt. Wuxia lowered his head and saw her slightly uncomfortable expression. His eyes were tinged with coldness and sharpness. He swept his gaze across the surroundings. Suddenly, a biting cold aura spread out and froze everything. However, these professional reporters were not to be trifled with. They were not afraid of his terrifying expression at all and still kept moving forward. Yu grabbed onto Wuxia's sleeves tightly, but she was still squeezed by the crowd. He had never seen such a congested scene. There were so many people in front and behind that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Questions came one after another, leaving no time for anyone to digest and understand the situation. Wuxia had also arrived, but when she saw the crowd at the entrance, she was stunned. She subconsciously put on a professional smile and said, "Everyone, please don't crowd. Please be careful and don't crowd the entrance, okay? The situation is critical now. Everyone, please make way. Please don't block the entrance, okay?" As soon as he finished speaking, a man in the crowd shouted, "Don't change the subject. Xianxia, please answer me directly. Are you Wuxia's mistress?" The sharp question caused the crowd to quiet down immediately. When Wuxia heard this, the smile on her face froze. She stood rooted to the ground for a moment until the smile on her lips gradually turned cold. Yu's little face turned even paler. Even though he was young, he understood what the word mistress meant. Mistress. This was a blatant insult. The harsh question caused an uproar in the crowd. That man continued to press on. "Chairman Mu, does silence mean that you're admitting it?" After a moment of silence, the crowd burst into another round of questioning. Chapter 8:32. If the rumors are true, does that mean that you're a third party in your relationship with Wuxia? Xianxia, I heard that you were adopted from Xianxia Welfare Institute. Is that true? The director of Xianxia Welfare Institute, Luo Hanjin, was arrested for child molestation. The news said that many children in the Welfare Institute were victims. Have you ever been sexually assaulted? Xianxia's eyelashes trembled slightly. She looked down and closed her eyes tightly. Her lips were stiff and her face was pale. The harsh voices echoed in her ears. The unbearable questions were asked again and again, but they were so sharp in the noisy world. Yu stood there in a daze as if she had been petrified. She did not move. The flashes kept flashing in front of her eyes. Gradually, her vision went blank. Mommy is not a third party. What are these people talking about? Wuxia stood silently at the same spot and did not move an inch. His cold gaze swept across the crowd as his fists clenched tightly. Seeing that he had stopped in his tracks, the reporters swarmed forward and put their microphones to his mouth. "Daddy." Yu opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Her weak voice was instantly drowned out by the reporters' questions. Wuxia suddenly reached out and held her little hand tightly. Yu felt the warmth from his palm and felt inexplicably calm. Soon, 3 to 5 police cars rushed over. Chief Chen led the team to maintain order at the scene. The medical staff of the ambulance also rushed over. However, the reporters were blocked at the entrance like a wall and could not break through the crowd. Xianxia walked to the door and saw the scene in front of him. His face froze. He looked at the crowd at the entrance expressionlessly and narrowed his eyes. Seeing that Xianxia had also appeared, the reporters went crazy. The reporters rushed forward and the flashes became more intense. The sound of the film rolling could be heard continuously. Xianxia, look over here. Please share your views on Xianxia. Xianxia, look here, I'm a reporter from Starlight Daily. Wuxia suddenly said, "Scram." Even though his cold voice was deep, it was like an imperial edict that didn't allow anyone to question it. His gaze swept across the crowd. The coldness in his eyes caused people's hearts to palpitate. Some of the reporters who were close to him could not help but take a few steps back because of the murderous aura emanating from his body. Mu Yaja lifted his foot and was about to walk towards the ambulance when the reporter who had asked the sharp question earlier did not fear the cold aura he exuded. He squeezed to the front with no regard for his own safety and blocked his path with his camera. He extended his microphone. "Chairman Mu, you haven't answered my question yet." Mu Yaja suddenly stopped and glanced at him dangerously from the corner of his eyes. His lips curled into a cold and mocking smile. When the reporter saw that he had stopped, he quickly moved the microphone closer and asked a series of questions. "Please give a direct answer. May I ask if Xianxia is your mistress?" Before he could finish his sentence, Mu Yaja kicked the reporter away expressionlessly. The latter was caught off guard and stumbled a few steps back before falling to the ground. The crowd was in an uproar. Mu Yaja hit someone. Chapter 8:33. The flashing lights instantly drowned them out. A reporter from a famous entertainment newspaper squeezed in front of them, raised his Canon-like DSLR, and started taking pictures of them. Mu Yaja turned his face dangerously. With a frown, he punched the camera lens and smashed it into pieces. He looked up expressionlessly. His aura was as cold as ice as he said coldly, "Shut up." The atmosphere quieted down. In eerie silence, everyone froze on the spot. Time seemed to have stopped. Mu Yaja said in a low voice, "Move aside." As soon as he said that, everyone looked at each other and cowered. No one dared to step forward and obediently opened up a path. Xianxia was hurriedly sent to the hospital. Preliminary diagnosis showed that she did not have any external injuries. However, due to the air conditioning and the fact that she did not change out of her soaked clothes in time, the cold air invaded her body and caused her to have a high fever of 40 degrees Celsius. If it had been any later, she would have been in danger of contracting pneumonia. After sending Xianxia to the hospital, Mu Yaja asked Yu and Mu Shi to stay in the ward to look after her and left in a hurry. The reporters who had surrounded the hotel entrance were also brought back to the police station and investigated for obstructing public order. With such a thing happening, Mu Yaja naturally would not let them off easily. These motley crew were all dismissed and blacklisted, unable to work in the media industry for the rest of their lives. Mu Yaja also got his men to delete all the photos taken. The results of the investigation showed that these reporters were a motley crew from some third-rate media companies who would do anything to get the news. It was said that the hotel staff leaked the news. They rushed over when they heard the news and squatted at the hotel entrance. Soon, the hotel staff who leaked the news was also found out. It was the hotel receptionist. The police came to take the receptionist away for investigation. Although Mu Yaja suppressed it in time, the news of Xianxia interfering in a rich family's marriage spread like wildfire on the internet. The Water Army started spreading rumors on Weibo. The mysterious financier behind Xianxia lifts his veil. It's Mu Yaja, the CEO of Dishing Financial Group. Explosion. The crown prince of the Mu Group is angry because of a woman. Xianxia interferes with the marriage of a rich family. Is the rising star of the film industry the third wheel? Yan Bingqing was banned by Huanyu because she offended Xianxia. The reason was that Xianxia was the mistress of the Mu Group's crown prince. Xianxia actually had an illegitimate child with Mu Yaja? Soon, these scandals were all over the internet. However, because most of the rumors seemed to be groundless, there was no real evidence to verify this matter. Therefore, netizens could only wait and see about this matter. Many people ran to Xianxia's Weibo, wanting to leave comments for her. However, Mu Shi had foresight and blocked the comments section of Weibo at an extremely fast speed. However, she did not expect her actions to make it even more conspicuous. In an instant, the news of Xianxia interfering in a rich family's marriage spread on the internet. It caused a storm and was confusing for a moment. Many netizens sighed with emotion. This Xianxia, who had just debuted, seemed to have the effect of being a hot topic and had repeatedly topped the list of hot topics. Chapter 8:34. Yu scrolled through Weibo and saw that the rumors were spreading everywhere. He vaguely smelled something fishy. He felt that there was something fishy about this matter. Huanyu Entertainment had a monopoly on the media industry. However, the topics on Weibo were mostly directed toward Xianxia and Mu Yaja. Guan Yu Entertainment did not even make a move. This was indeed a little abnormal. Not to mention Mu Yaja, even Yun Tianyu could sense that something was fishy. After Mu Yaja was done with his work, he received a call from Mu Sheng, asking him to hurry back to the Mu residence. He righteously said that he had an urgent matter to announce. He did not need to think to know what it was. Mu Yaja did not care about it at all. Yun Shishir was still in the hospital, and he did not know what was going on. No matter how important the matter was, he had to put it aside first. Hence, after leaving the police station, he drove to the hospital. When he entered the ward, Yu was guarding by the bed. Yun Shishir was asleep. She had changed into a clean hospital gown with the help of the nurse. At the same time, she used a hot towel to wipe her body. The 4 drip was already changed to the 4th bottle. Seeing him walk in, Yu's face showed dissatisfaction. Mu Yaja exchanged glances with him and easily caught the displeasure in his eyes. Without guessing, he knew what the little guy was unhappy about. He was different from other children and matured at a young age. Hence, when he was surrounded by reporters at the hotel entrance, those sharp words hurt both Yun Shishir and him. "You're here." Yu glanced at him, his expression a little cold. "Have you settled everything?" "Yes, I have." Mu Yaja walked to the bedside and reached out to check the temperature of her forehead. After 3 bottles of 4 drip, the temperature had dropped, but the fever was still not completely gone. Yu did not intend to let the interrogation go just like that. He suddenly pulled his hand and led him to the balcony. Closing the door and leaning against it, the little guy's face was cold, and there was no need to hide the anger in his eyes. "What happened today made me very unhappy." With a short opening speech, the little guy went straight to the point. "I know that some media reporters are very unscrupulous and that we shouldn't bother with their sharp and tricky questions. I also know that Mommy will have to face some rumors when she enters the entertainment industry, which is a place of trouble. This is not what I want to see, though." "Okay." Mu Yaja waited for him to continue. His son was young, but the words he spoke were much more mature than an adult. "I heard someone asking you if Mommy is your mistress. I don't want to hear such a question a second time. Do you understand?" After a pause, Yu expressed his attitude. "If there's a next time, even if you don't do anything, I won't let it go." "What will you do?" "You don't have to ask me what I will do. I won't interfere with you, and you don't have to ask me about my decision. I only want to tell you that I will only do what I think is right." His young voice revealed his determination. In his heart, he was thinking that if there were such unbearable rumors in the future, he might take action and get rid of Mu Wanru. Chapter 8:35. Making a person disappear from this world without leaving a trace was not a difficult task for him. Mu Yaja saw some clues in his son's eyes. It seemed that his son had some tricks up his sleeve. However, as a father, he naturally didn't want his son's hands to be stained with those unclean things. So, he said, "Give me a month." "A month?" Yu was obviously unhappy with the number. He shook his finger and said, "I'll only give you half a month." Mu Yaja thought for a moment and said, "Okay." Yu said, "Daddy, don't let me down. After all, you're my daddy. You're an excellent man. Don't let my mommy get hurt again." Mu Yaja reached out and rubbed his son's hair. Then, he heard the little boy say seriously, "I know why you haven't done anything yet." "What do you mean?" "You've seen through Mu Wanru's identity long ago. I know why you haven't done anything about it yet." Mu Yaja was surprised. He squatted down and looked into his son's eyes. "Tell me, what's the reason?" "You're waiting for the right time." Yu pointed out briefly, "Mu Wanru is so weak that she can't even withstand a single blow. She must have some power behind her since she could stay in the Mu family for so long. You haven't done anything yet because you want to lure the snake out of its hole. Isn't that right?" Mu Yaja's face froze. He said, "The Mu family is a big family. Many people in the family are eyeing the position of the successor. Naturally, you have to clean up those who want to seize power to stabilize the family's morale." He changed the topic, "But how do you know?" "I'm not telling you." Yu kept him in suspense. He looked at the sky and said, "I'll only tell you that I've planted spies in the Mu family." Wuxia narrowed his eyes slightly. Spies? But how long ago? It wasn't long ago, but we managed to obtain some reliable information. I only want to remind you that Mu Wanru and that person have already made their move. Over the past few days, Mu Wanru has taken advantage of her position to plant that person's men into the consortium's headquarters. I'm afraid she's going to do something secretly. Mu Wanru was the human resources director of Dishing Financial Group. Wuxia glanced at him. This brat had some ability. Daddy, as far as I'm concerned, the Mu family is nothing in my eyes. In my eyes, whether it's power or wealth, it's meaningless if I can't protect the people I love. In other words, if you let mommy get hurt, I won't forgive you no matter how powerful you are or how wealthy you are. Yun Tianyu did not care about a mere Mu family. Wuxia didn't care about it either. His current status and power were not entirely dependent on the Mu family. Outside of the Mu family, he already had his own empire, one that was on par with the Mu family's. In other words, he did not care about the inheritance of the Mu family that Mu Xing mentioned. He originally wanted to wait until Grandpa Mu breathed his last before eliminating the remaining members of the Mu family one by one. In the past few days, that person had indeed lost his cool and was slowly giving himself away. Alas, that person was a sly old fox who hid his true colors well. It seemed that he had to hasten his actions. Didn't you give me half a month's time? Wuxia said, It's a deal then. Chapter 8:36. Wuxia narrowed his eyes. His admiration for his son grew. It was as if the student had surpassed the master. This son of his would definitely be very capable in the future. He was so young, yet his mind was so complicated. He even knew how to play the tricks of a big family. In fact, this feeling was very unpleasant. His son seemed to know everything about him, but he couldn't figure out what kind of power was behind his precious son. Stay at the hospital and accompany mommy. I'm going back to the Mu residence. Wuxia gave a few more instructions before leaving in a hurry. On the way back, he received a call from his grandfather, urging him to go home. He said that he had something important to announce. The important matter he was talking about was probably his engagement with Mu Wanru. These few days, the Muse had received news that Mu Sheng's health was deteriorating and his situation was getting worse. It was as if he knew that he did not have much time left and was about to die. He started to worry about his marriage with Mu Wanru and started to make arrangements for it. It was said that Grandpa Mu planned to hold the wedding within this month as soon as possible. He did not return to the Mu residence these few days, and Xiao Yichen was arranged to stay in the condominium beside Dishing Financial Group. When he returned to the Mu residence, Mu Sheng saw him without batting an eyelid. Mu Wanru, on the other hand, was beside Mu Sheng. She kept her head down and secretly observed his expression from time to time. Wuxia glanced at her and happened to catch her secretly looking at him. His gaze was cold and deep. It was as sharp as a sword covered in snow, and it made her panic. She felt that no matter what she did, she could not escape his eyes. When Wuxia sat down, Grandpa Mu did not make any small talk. Instead, he went straight to the point. When do you plan to set the wedding date? His question left no room for negotiation. Before Wuxia could say anything, Grandpa Mu said unhappily, Wanru is pregnant. Don't delay the wedding any longer. When the dust settles on your wedding date, Grandpa's heart will also be at ease. Aja, I don't care what you do outside, but you're not young anymore. It's time to settle down and start a family. Grandpa's only wish now is to see you marry Wanru. Only then can Wanru truly be considered a member of the Mu family. If Grandpa's body allows it, I'd like to see your child being born again. You've never disobeyed your grandfather. Grandfather's body may not be able to hold on for much longer. Stop fooling around. At least, fulfill Grandfather's last wish. His words were sincere. For him, Mu Wanru was only a member of the Mu family when she married into the family. He wholeheartedly wanted to give Mu Wanru a proper status as the young mistress of the Mu family. Wuxia looked up, his expression as cold as ice. Seeing his cold expression, Mu Sheng suddenly added, If you really like that woman, it's not impossible. You can marry her as a concubine too. That woman is called Yun Shishir? Mu Sheng's eyes narrowed slightly. She should be a woman with some tricks up her sleeve. That was what he thought. After all, Mu Yaja had never had a woman by his side all these years. This lad seemed to be very cold when it came to women. However, Yun Shirshir was the first woman by his side. Chapter 837. This Yun Shirshir was definitely not simple. Mu Wanru, who was standing at the side, looked surprised. Mu Sheng actually relented and allowed Yun Shirshir to marry into the family as a concubine? She found it hard to believe. However, in fact, in the Mu family, only the head of the Mu family had such a privilege. Take Mu Sheng, for example. Other than his first wife, there were also his second and third wives. Although the three women were constantly fighting under the same roof, they appeared to be very harmonious on the surface. Other than that, Mu Sheng also had a few concubines outside. In ancient times, a concubine was a concubine. In fact, as a concubine in the Mu family, other than having a lower status than the first wife, there was no difference in other aspects. The only difference was that the few wives were legally married, while the concubines could not hold a wedding ceremony and could only marry into the family directly. After all, monogamy was now practiced. Even if the Mu family was rich for 100 years, some things could not be too ostentatious. However, allowing Yun Shirshir to marry into the family as a concubine was already the biggest concession he could make. After all, Grandpa Mu hated Yun Shirshir from the bottom of his heart. After all, for so long, no one could make Mu Yaja go against his wishes. Yun Shirshir, however, did it. Naturally, he hated her to the core. Mu Yaja merely chuckled when he heard that. His eyes were calm and unruffled, and no one knew what he meant by that. However, since Mu Sheng had already made his intentions clear, he intended to make a proper decision on this matter this time. Grandpa, I remember that when I was still young, you arranged a marriage for me, right? Mu Yaja looked at him as he said this. His interruption was so sudden that Mu Sheng did not react in time. Don't you remember? Mu Yaja paused for a moment before saying casually, although I was young, my mother told me that you arranged a marriage for me. I heard that the girl is from the capital's Song family. Song family? Mu Wanru obviously did not know about this. After all, this happened before she was taken into the Mu family. Mu Yaja said again. The Mu family in the capital is a prestigious family. But after Mu Wanru returned to the Mu family, you didn't hesitate to offend the Song family's old man and canceled the engagement. Growing up in a wealthy family, marriage had been reduced to a bargaining chip. It was not something that they could decide. For example, the marriage between a father and a mother had nothing to do with romance or love. It was just a marriage between two families. The marriage between the two was nothing more than a paper deal between two wealthy families. What puzzled him, however, was that, after Mu Wanru's return, Mu Sheng resolutely called off the engagement between the two families. This made Old Master Song very embarrassed. Mu Sheng's face froze, but he did not say a word. Indeed, this did not seem to be his character. According to him, marriage was just a bargaining chip in exchange for fame, wealth, status, and power. Mu Wanru's mother, Mu Qingqing, was just a singer. She did not have any maternal power to speak of. Mu Sheng's insistence on letting Mu Wanru marry into the Mu family, even making her the main wife, was indeed beyond everyone's expectations. Mu Yaja's eyes turned cold. You keep saying that you want me to fulfill your wish. I just want to ask you what wish Grandpa wants me to fulfill by marrying this woman. Mu Sheng sealed his mouth tightly, unable to say a word. Chapter 838. This grandfather of his was in his twilight years and did not have many days left to live. As he grew older, he no longer had that much ambition. Before he died, he only wanted to fulfill his unspoken wish. That was his unfulfilled wish for Mu Qingqing. His love for her was no longer in the category of adoptive father and daughter. There was even a time when he wanted to marry her as his wife, but she already had someone else in her heart. Alas, he had always been very possessive. How could he tolerate the woman he loved having someone else in her heart? Hence, there was a time when he wanted to force her to submit. Although she was a singer, her character was chaste, so how could she submit? In the end, she could not stand his perverted possessiveness and fled the Mu family with her pregnancy. The muse sent out countless men to search for her. They could not wait to turn the capital upside down to catch her. However, when they finally found her, she was already a cold corpse. This car accident was laughable. If she had not been trying to avoid the men sent by the muse, how could she have gotten into an accident? His heart was filled with self-blame and guilt. Feeling as if a knife was being twisted in his heart, he fell ill and was bedridden for a long time. In the end, this wish fell on Mu Wanru. Even if he could not marry her, at least he could let her daughter marry into the Mu family. This could be considered as fulfilling his wish. It was because of his perverted obsession that Mu Yaja did not bring Xianxia back to the Mu family. He dared not imagine what crazy things his grandfather would do if he saw Xianxia, who looked almost identical to her. Moreover, the Mu family was in turmoil with constant infighting. He had to tread carefully to get to where he was today. Therefore, he had been waiting for an opportunity to personally wipe out the traitors within the Mu family. Before that, he would not let Xianxia take even half a step into this tiger's den. After a long silence, just as he was about to speak, Mu Yaja suddenly asked, "Grandpa, are you determined to make me marry this woman?" Mu Wanru bit her lower lip and gently rested her hand on his shoulder. Mu Sheng looked up and placed his withered hand on the back of her hand. He looked at Mu Yaja and said, "Grandpa, haven't you already taken a step back? If you have any woman you like outside, you can marry her and make her your concubine. As for Wanru, she must be the young madam of the Mu family. There is no room for discussion on this point." Since Grandpa said so, Mu Yaja suddenly said, "Then I'll do as grandfather says." His words gave the old man a shock. He originally thought that his grandson would still resist him, but he didn't expect him to agree so quickly. He had resisted so fiercely earlier. But now, instead, Mu Sheng felt that Mu Yaja's docile attitude was somewhat abnormal. Mu Wanru was also stunned. She did not expect Mu Yaja to agree to marry her. Mu Yaja did not look at them. He just casually took out a cigarette box and lit it. "Since it's Grandpa's wish, I won't fight for it anymore. Besides, you're already old. My only wish is for my marriage to be settled according to your wishes. Since Grandpa likes her, I'll marry her." Mu Sheng and Mu Wanru were completely dumbfounded. Mu Wanru, in particular, had a comical expression on her face. Chapter 839. The old man was the first to react. "You're really willing to marry Wanru? There's no need to doubt my words." Mu Yaja pursed his thin lips. "Grandpa, you know that I'll do what I say." He was a man of his word. This was his grandson's attitude towards the world. He had no doubts about this. "Great." Overjoyed, he immediately said, "That's great. Since you're willing to marry Wanru, Grandpa is naturally happy." With that, he held Mu Wanru's hand tightly, unable to hide the joy on his face. "That's great. I'm afraid that the Mu family will have double happiness in no time. Since that's the case, I'll quickly get someone to make arrangements. The wedding can't be delayed any longer. We should at least announce it to the media first. Then, Grandpa will get someone to pick an auspicious date for your wedding." According to tradition, after the wedding date was set, the Mu family would hold a grand press conference and invite business and political celebrities, aristocrats, and various media outlets to witness it. After that, they would hold the grand wedding of the century. Compared to his joy, Mu Wanru's smile seemed a little forced. That was because she did not believe that Mu Yaja would really marry her. Ever since she reached an agreement with Mu Yaja that day, she no longer had any illusions about marrying him. Mu Lianjue had promised her an inexhaustible supply of wealth after the deed was done. Hence, she was willing to follow his instructions. Not only did she plant his men in Dixing's headquarters, she even poisoned Mu Xing's medicine. In the entire Mu family, she was the only one who could do this. Now, however, Mu Yaja actually said that he was willing to marry her. Didn't that mean that she would become the young mistress of the Mu family soon? Everything seemed like a dream. It was unbelievably beautiful. Why would Mu Yaja be willing, though? Not to mention other things, just the fact that she was pregnant and the child in her belly was not his, yet he was still willing to marry her. This was the greatest humiliation to a man. "Grandpa, there's one thing you must do, though." Don't forget what you promised me earlier. Mu Yaja's words were concise, but Grandpa Mu understood and nodded. Don't worry. Grandpa will give it to you before the wedding. The Mu family's power. Although Mu Yaja was the heir of the Mu family and had the right to inherit, this power was different from the inheritance. The Mu family's power symbolizes the highest authority. Only the patriarch had the right to do so. Mu Xing had once promised him that if he married Mu Wanru, he would pass the family head position to him. Generally speaking, given Mu Xing's character, he would not hand over the Mu family's authority unless he was on his deathbed. After all, in a family like the Mu clan's power meant supreme power. If one had the Mu clan's power, it meant that the Mu clan had the power to control life and death. Many people coveted it. Think about it, if Mu's families to be Mu's to the family to have the families to be. The family's morale would be unstable and he would not be able to rest until his death. If it were someone else, he might not agree. Mu Yaja, on the other hand, was his most trusted grandson. Grandpa Xing, on the other hand, trusted him. Chapter 840. Oh. Although she was unwilling, she could not pry any further from his stern words. After a moment of silence, the old man said, "How about this? I'll announce it on the day you and Wanru get married." Mu Yaja replied, "Since that's the case, I'll go make the arrangements now." But the old man nodded in relief and did not say anything else. Mu Yaja went upstairs. Mu Wanru hurriedly chased after him. He stopped in his tracks and slowly turned around, only to see her standing behind him bashfully with a complicated expression. She was stammering and hesitating to speak. "What's the matter? Mu Yaja, are you really willing to marry me?" Mu Wanru asked hesitantly. Her eyes were filled with disbelief and even unconcealable suspicion. Mu Yaja glanced at her, but his eyes were cold and indifferent. Hearing her question, he raised a brow impatiently. Mu Wanru quickly explained, "I don't mean anything else. I'm just curious. After all, you said that you won't marry me. It's really surprising that you've changed your mind." "What's so surprising about that?" Mu Wanru laughed and said, "I'm just too happy, so happy that I'm still a little doubtful. I don't believe that you're really willing to marry me. I still feel like I'm living in a dream." Mu Yaja remained silent. Mu Wanru could not help feeling awkward, but she still wanted to clarify this matter. After all, the love she had for Mu Yaja was hard to let go. "If you marry me, then what about Xianxia?" she asked carefully. Mu Yaja coldly replied, "You have no right to mention her." Mu Wanru's face was suddenly filled with disappointment. She said in shame, "Yes, I know. I know that it's already my greatest honor that you're willing to marry me. Other than that, I won't ask so much from you. But, if you really want to marry me, I swear, I will learn how to be a qualified young mistress of the Mujia. But do you really not mind my past?" Her mind was in a mess. She always suspected that Mu Yaja didn't marry her for such a simple reason. Therefore, she wanted to find out more about it. After all, Mu Yaja was extremely shrewd. This man's thoughts were unpredictable. She couldn't figure it out no matter how hard she tried. She always felt that his decision wasn't that simple. Mind what? Mu Yaja's cold eyes fell on her body. "I married you because grandfather ordered me to. I don't want to disobey. As for the rest, you don't have to ask." Mu Wanru was shocked. Mu Yaja said, "Besides, you've always taken good care of Grandpa, no matter how big or small. Since it's Grandpa's wish, then I will comply." "You married me, then do you like me?" Even if it was just a little bit, it made her so happy that she couldn't control herself. But he coldly asked, "What does my marriage with you have to do with whether I like you or not?" Mu Wanru choked. "I know that you married me because of grandfather's order. It has nothing to do with romance or love. I also know that I let you down. But in the future, I will try my best to play my role. It's good that you know." Mu Yaja finished and turned away. Mu Wanru, on the other hand, stood rooted to the spot. Her heart was in a mess. She went back to her room and sat on the bed, but she felt that her thoughts were in a mess.